Ankh Uja Seneb Neb. I give harmony, I give power, and I give the divine spirit to all those watching and to all those who are connected to divine people. Because we are divine spiritual beings having a divine human experience. All four of the golden ages of ancient Kemet. And the first three golden ages existed before there was a Hebrew, before there was a Christian, before there was Hindu, before there was Buddha. In fact, before the first Hebrew or Christian came on the scene, the pyramids was already 2,000 years old. And the first golden age, the second golden age, ancient Kemet, was already ancient before all religions on the planet came into existence. The word religion, if you look up its origin, means to bind, to tie down, to hold back. So if somebody doesn't believe me, look it up. That's what religion means. So religion was created to control the masses of people. We had spirituality. Spirituality doesn't distinguish me from the rest of the planet. It connects me to the Creator. It's my relationship to this divine energy that dwells within each and every person and is responsible for all existence on the planet. And so spirituality is where you want to go. When you're trying to develop a religion, I'm trying to control people's behavior. I'm trying to control their predictability. I'm trying to control their wealth. Spirituality is an endless entity of information that's downloaded into your consciousness. You see, you are your consciousness. You're not your body. Your body is ruled by your ego. Spirituality teaches you to remove the veil from your ego, where religion taps into your ego and helps to keep you confined on 3D lockdown. You see, spirituality is science that can't be seen, but it can be felt and understood. Where science is spirituality that can be seen, felt, and touched. So we have to understand that. Religion doesn't deal with science because most of it is just mythological. You're just going by belief. And so belief is the most important thing in a religion. And so our legacy is real. It's not based upon mythology. The Bible, written by 20, 30 different people, not completed to the 1400s. People are basing their whole life on that. That's not history. That's not facts. It's the greatest story ever told, and that's what it is, a story. And if you're defining your spirituality based upon a fictitious book, then you're in bad shape.
All right, family, I'm going to say peace and black power. Welcome to another Sarnetta TV, Black News 102, Sarnetta Studios production. This is your brother Sarnetta, and I'm bringing to you one of our Grandmaster teachers. I mean, he's been studying with the great professors, Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Ben, you name it. Professor James Smalls, he traveled all over the world. You name it, the brother is one to be reckoned with. He knows the Medu Netta. He has studied the Medu Netta. He has traveled on fact-finding missions. And I speak of none other than my brother, Infodiji. Matter of fact, most of the ancient Kemetic symbols that you see around, and you see the stuff around, I got it from this brother years ago at his spot, at his store. I used to go up there damn near every week to get one or two items from the brother. So I bring to you our brother, Infodiji. Peace, my brother. Welcome to have you here.
Okay, it's my pleasure. Ankh Uja Seneb Neb. I give harmony, I give power, and I give the divine spirit to all those watching and to all those who are connected to divine people. Because we are divine spiritual beings having a divine human experience. So we're going to get right in and talk about ancient Kemet, ancient Kosh, and its effects on the whole world. And so, Brother Sarnetta, where do you want me to start in at? Because we're going to do a power presentation a little earlier, a little later, and it'll outline all four of the golden ages of ancient Kemet. And the first three golden ages existed before there was a Hebrew, before there was a Christian, before there was Hindu, before there was Buddha. In fact, before the first Hebrew or Christian came on the scene, the pyramids was already 2,000 years old. And the first golden age, the second golden age, ancient Kemet, was already ancient before all religions on the planet came into existence. And I'm going to break that down in my PowerPoint.
Why is there so much confusion about the religions such as Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and Hebrew? Why is it so much confusion?
Well, first, I just want to break down the word religion. If you look up its origin, means to bind, to tie down, to hold back. So if somebody doesn't believe me, look it up. That's what religion means. So religion was created to control the masses of people. We had spirituality. Spirituality doesn't distinguish me from the rest of the planet. It connects me to the Creator. It's my relationship to this divine energy that dwells within each and every person and is responsible for all existence on the planet. And so spirituality is where you want to go. When you're trying to develop a religion, I'm trying to control people's behavior. I'm trying to control their predictability. I'm trying to control their wealth. I'm trying to have a political base based upon what they think is spirituality, but it is not. So religion is to bind, to tie down, to hold back, to control. So I need to make that really clear. It puts you in the box. So we have an Islamic box. We have a Christianity box. We got a Judaism box. We got all of these boxes. Some boxes are a little larger than other ones, but they're all boxes. Spirituality opens you up to the universe. In fact, you're not even confined to this planet. Spirituality is an endless entity of information that's downloaded into your consciousness. You see, you are your consciousness. You're not your body. Your body is ruled by your ego. Spirituality teaches you to remove the veil from your ego, where religion taps into your ego and helps to keep you confined on 3D lockdown.
I'm just putting the links in right now so
Yes.
everybody can tune in.
Yes. So,
Yeah, brother, I hear you.
so you see, it's clear. So, so spirituality, those temples you saw in ancient Kemet, which I'm going to show you some pictures of, have nothing to do necessarily with religion. Those temples were divine universities of information where spirituality was connecting. You see, spirituality is science that can't be seen, but it can be felt and understood. Where science is spirituality that can be seen, felt, and touched. So we have to understand that. Religion doesn't deal with science because most of it is just mythological. You're just going by belief. And so belief is the most important thing in a religion. See, no one can show you the bodies of anybody in the Bible. Nobody can show you or come up with one skeleton remain, one mummy, one of anybody in the Bible, including Moses or nobody. But I'm going to show you the statues, the written work, even the mummies of all the people we talk about in ancient Kemet. This is not no fictitious sci-fi channel. This is real. And so our legacy is real. It's not based upon mythology. The Bible written by 20, 30 different people, not completed to the 1400s. People are basing their whole life on that. That's not history. That's not facts. It's the greatest story ever told. And that's what it is, a story. And if you're defining your spirituality based upon a fictitious book, then you're in bad shape. You see, our ancestors wrote the writing on the wall, and you've heard that expression, the writing's on the wall. Well, the writing is still on the wall, waiting for us to read it. And so I tell people, Don't take my word for it. Don't take Dr. John Henry Clark's word for it. Don't just take Dr. Ben's word for it. Don't take Sanjeti, Dr. Jacob Crothers' word for it. No, you can learn the Medu Neter and read what they read off the walls. Is still waiting for us. See, one of the beautiful things about the Medu Neter, if you take all the ancient writings in the world, that's the Aztecs, the Mayans, that's in Asia, the Americas, and you put them together, it doesn't equal 1/100th. Did you hear me? 1/100th of the information that's still written in the Medu Neter on papyrus, on the walls, the temples that still exist right now. So this is not a feel-good thing. And then when you see my illustrations, you're going to see, beyond the question of the doubt, they are all African people.
Peace. I hope y'all appreciate this, brother. I brought in a real grandmaster teacher today, family, for my people, because y'all know I love doing this work, and I'm going to keep on going from here. I don't know who I got heavy coming behind this brother, but you best to believe it's somebody that's powerful. Brother Infidiji, I know you heard this many times when they say, well, you know, the Egyptians, they worship the sun. They worship snakes. They worship animals. Talk to us about that. Is it the lack of understanding or the lack of, because when they see the snakes on the head, they see the hippopotamus, they don't understand it. They talk about the death and the dog. I see cats. Y'all worship animals and suns and stars and stuff with that. What's up with that? Y'all are pagans. Y'all are heathens.
I appreciate the question, Brother Sarnetta, and I love this. You see, ignorance puts you in the world all by yourself, and it separates you from wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You lack the knowledge of the planet that you live on. You lack the knowledge of the species that live here, the animals. Let me explain. Ancient Kemet breaks it down. There are 4 major domains that you need to deal with. First is the mineral domain. The planet is a mineral. The sun is a mineral. Second, you deal with the plant domain. The plant domain feeds off of the mineral domain. So the mineral domain is the host to the plant domain. From the plant domain, now you can have what we call the animal domain. So the animal domain lives off of the plant domain. And then from the animal domain, we have what we call humans. In ancient Kemet, we call it the Ramech, the original people. Okay? And so there's a chain here. Each one is dependent on the other. So as the Ramech, the original people, began to develop themselves, they realized that they needed to be connected to the mineral, to the plant, and to the animal. And that all of them were teaching tools. All of them were like an encyclopedia giving them information on their existence. And so therefore, the sun is the main source of energy for this planet. And so it's like your mother. You worship your mother. She's not God, but she brought you into existence. The sun is like our parent. Without it, there is no life on this planet. And so our ancient ancestors gave adoration to the sun. The sun is not God. We understand that the Creator allows the sun to emanate light. So Ra is the energy emanating from the spear, and all the stars are suns. It just that we gave particular adoration to Ra, the sun that energizes our solar system. But we also gave a name to Spadet, Sirius A, Sirius B, because our ancestors says we come from those planets. I mean, those stars. We come from the 3, if you see 3 stars in Orion's belt, and then you see at the end of his sword, there's an extremely bright star. And in the pyramid text, the Mirkut Sebiat says that our ancient ancestors come from there. Even our sun comes from there. And for a long time, people thought that was just another bright star. No. Modern sciences have just found out that that's not even a star. It's a nebula. It's an incubator. It's a womb that creates stars. So our ancestors knew 6,000 years ago that our sun, and that we come from that particular nebula. So that's how deep we are. See, we're talking about science. It's recorded in the books. The pyramid text is literally the oldest spiritual book on the planet, written in stone and written inside of Unas's temple. Pepi's temple, Pepi II, Men-Neper's temple. You see, so these are facts. We can go look at, they can go tomorrow and see this. It still exists. The writing is still on the wall. Now, let's go to this zoomorphic energy. Our ancestors saw the falcon. The falcon flies higher than any bird. The falcon is the fastest creature on the planet Earth. The falcon can travel 285 miles per hour. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay? And he has the keenest eyesight. He has the extra eyelid that can look directly at the sun. No other creature can do that without damaging his eyes. Not only that, he can spot a mouse under a leaf while hovering a mile in the sky.
The Hebrews say that they are not African. Where was they living at? Where do they come from? Is Israel in Africa?
Okay, so first of all, I think that's out of a self-hate of not wanting to associate with African people, because almost all these people who claim to be Hebrew, see, Hebrews is not a race. Hebrew is a religion. Anybody can be a Hebrew. Anybody can adopt. Like I hear them say, Native Americans. Native Americans are not connected to that. They are connected with the Hebrews. The Hispanics are connected. Hispanics don't come from there. So it's just a religion. Anybody can join it. It's not an ethnic group. So there are Africans who are Hebrews. There are Asiatics who are Hebrews. So they got to come from somewhere. Their origins is coming from a place in Asia, but under African rule. So they came in as black people. So, you know, they might not want to call themselves Africans, but they're the same black people that exist in East Africa. You know, so I just need to make that clear. They just don't want to identify with. It's like today, America has created a census where probably at least 1/3 of all the Hispanic people are African people, but they don't say they're African. They say, I'm Hispanic, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Dominican. But they're just African people. The boat dropped them off someplace different. You will have people who say the 2000 census created another, biracial. Biracial, these are just African people who don't want to identify with Africa. So most of these Hebrew Israelites are that. In fact, one of the largest facets of Hebrew Israelites come from Ethiopia. The Betara Israel. They are one of the oldest Hebrew groups on the planet. They come directly out of Africa, out of Ethiopia. They're the same Ethiopians that everybody else, you know, that's on. It's just that they chose, and they call themselves the Falasha. Well, people call them, Falasha means stranger. It means that you came back with a different religion, a different spiritual system. So the other Africans called you a stranger. So that's what the word Falasha means. It means stranger. And they call themselves Betara Israel, the children of Israel. Children of Aset, Isis, Ra, and El, the master. So, you know, so squash that. They're African people who've adopted a religion. Okay, that's all. Anybody can be a Hebrew Israelite. Anybody. That's why the European whites claim to be Jews and Hebrews. They adopted that religion. They come from the Caucasus Mountains and come from the Khazar. The Khazars were just regular white people who adopted who adopted Judaism. And now they call themselves Hebrews and Jews. So I just need to bet that's a race, okay? Hebrewism and Hebrew Israelite is not a race. It's a religion. Anybody can belong to it. Those people who are black just don't want to identify with Africa because they think Africa is a lowly place. They think Africa never did anything. They think Africans never created anything. So they don't want to associate with that.
So there's no such thing as a Hebrew language?
No, Hebrew language was also created in Africa, in Kemet. When the so-called Hebrews, if they came into Kemet, they came in without a written language. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Without a written language. They came in, and then when they left, Hebrew was created, you know, what we call Hebrew, which is based upon the Kemetic alphabet and the Kemetic system. That's why the Hebrews have numbers that can be associated, you know, with the letter and the sounds, all come out of ancient Kemet. And Kemet is thousands of years older than the Hebrew language. And the Hebrew Kabbalah all comes out of Kemet. It wasn't created in Asia. It was created in Africa. So they need to understand that. And hopefully these Hebrew Israelites can at least read Hebrew. You're going to be a Hebrew priest and you don't read and write Hebrew. As a Kemetic priest, we read and write Medunetchet. If you were a Catholic priest, you read and write Latin. Right? If you're a Muslim imam or priest, you read and write Arabic. And so Hebrews who don't read and write and read their text straight from, don't be reading no English that's been badly translated. Read the Hebrew text. If you ain't reading the Hebrew text, get out of my face. And I can show you where their text come from. It comes from our stuff. So, we need to be real clear about that when we dealing with, not semantics, we dealing with real technical things. So when the so-called Hebrews came in, no, they didn't have a written language. Just like the Greeks didn't initially have a written language, and the Africans helped formulate their language.
People, I wanted to be clear. We can't get caught up in semantics. We can't use terminology to divide us. We're at a time where Dr. John Henry Clark told us that we have no friends in the world. And so our friends have to be us, family, African people throughout the diaspora, people of color, dark hue people. We have to be united with ourselves. So we can't use all this division. Moors. I'm a Moor. Moor are just simply African people who have adopted a great science that comes from the Nile Valley. Yes, they came here to the Americas, and they are some of the first Americans on this continent in North America. But we have to understand, human beings didn't start in North America. This is just Kemet in the West. And so that we need to understand that. So my great Moors, simply, that's just... Dr. Van Sertima he has a whole book on the Moors. He did a fantastic job. It simply means that they are the black people. Now, some Moors won't want to use the word black because they say it was created by the European language. Color was not created by Europeans. So I need to say that. We use the word Kim. And the word Kim designated this dark hue that we are melanin-dominated people. So if my camera can just look over here at this, what I've written on the board. And so this is how we wrote the name of our nation. And let me say this. Kemet is the first nation state on the planet. So I need to be real clear about that. The first nation state on the planet Earth recorded. Okay, so Kemet, Kim meaning black. This symbol represents a community. So it's the black community. Y'all understand? Not the black land. See, the Egyptologists, first they would just say it means Negro land or the land of the blacks. Then when we start reading, wait, show me where it say that. We know that word means land. That's ta. That's not up here. The determinative is community. Okay? So it's the black community. So if you live in the black community, who are the people there, brother? Okay, all right, so that's clear. So now, if we go down here, so when we say chemistry means the black science. When you were in school, and if you knew you was going to learn the black science, you'd probably break your neck trying to get to that class, all right? But they bamboozled you. But here, another name is Ta-Meri. That means the beloved land. The beloved land showed the affection we had for that land. Then we use the word Simatawi. That's land again. That's two lands. That means united two lands. So those are three words. No Egypt. Egypt is a Greek word. That's a bastardization of one little place in Kemet. What was the name of the priest, Egyptos, and they changed it to Egypt. Okay. So that has, and I heard the Hebrew Israelites say that Egypt mean bondage. I don't know what kind of dictionary they using and where they got that nonsense from, but it doesn't even mean bondage. It's not even a Greek word. It comes from an African word, but it's talking about a group of priests in Het Ptah. All right, so I need to make that clear. So my Moors, it's okay to use the word black. If you want to use dark hue, melon-dominated, the universe is 98% blackness. So I don't know why you're afraid of that word. We are a dark hue people in all different shades of melanin. And so My Moors, it just simply means we are melanated, you know, and then let me show you breaking it down. Now, I want to make it sure, so since they know that I'm just not a feel-good artist, okay, that I have a master's and PhD in anthropology, archaeology, and Egyptology, as well as history.
Say that one more time, man.
Okay, I have master's and PhD in anthropology, archaeology, and Egyptology. But my main thing was history of the Nile Valley. Degrees from Rutgers University, Norfolk State University, University of Dar es Salaam. I taught at the University of Khartoum in Sudan. So when I talk about the ancient Kush, I was there. In fact, when I did a lecture with Dr. Ben inside of the museum in Khartoum, they were so impressed. They hired me on the spot to come there and teach for the summer at the University of Khartoum, where the largest Kushite exhibit exists in the world. The second largest is in Boston, okay? So, you know, I just want to be clear. I studied in Ethiopia, Coptic. Coptic is the last version of Medu Neter. My teachers, Dr. Raketi Aman, who was one of the leading linguists in the world in Medu Neter, who studied with Diop. I was made a high priest in Ethiopia, but I was also made first a high priest by Dr. Sinjeti, who we call Dr. Jacob Crothers, who was the founder, the first president of ASCAT. So I need to have people understand this is not a feel-good thing. I've acted as a dean, associate dean, you know, at universities right here. I taught in Khartoum, University of Dar es Salaam, in Ghana at the Technical Institute, and the University of Ibadan in Nigeria. Okay, so I just want people to know. And right now, I'm still teaching Medu Neter at Essex County College in Newark, New Jersey.
Let me ask you this, brother. You said something that was very interesting, that's powerful, and I think the young people out there really need to hear this again. I was watching one of your videos, your DVDs, and you talked about how Africa has been turned upside down. And the reason why, oh, okay, you got to go in there. All right, that's what I'm talking about. And we have been turned upside down. That's why we don't know. All right, but I ain't going to talk. You got that PowerPoint ready? So let me ask you this then. Is there homosexuality in Egypt, dealing with Set and all of them?
First of all, let me say this here. Ma'at was the foundation of ancient Kemet. Yes, so you understand that. Homosexuality does not fit in there. And along with Ma'at, they always show that the second most powerful thing is family. And family was always shown as man, woman, and child. We need to understand that. The Trinity comes from ancient Kemet. Not two men, not two women, man, woman, and child. So we need to be clear that. The ancient kings always showed themselves with their mate. You couldn't be a single man and be the ruler of ancient Kemet because most rulers came on the throne through the woman. So woman is always, and woman is held in high esteem. So we have to be clear about that. So the whole concept of gay homosexuality is a Greek and Roman thing. That's Greek and Roman. So if they see any of that happening in Kemet, it's during the 31st dynasty when the Greeks and the Romans were in charge, not during the ancient Kemetic dynasties. And the Hyksos adopted Set. So I need people to understand that. I need people to understand. When the Hyksos came in, they came in with no spirituality, religion of their own. They adopted, they were under the influence of Kemet because they came in as beggars and as poor people and as also. So I need to understand that. Nobody brought them in. They came in as beggars. They came in looking for food, for work, okay? Now, they had an option of Ma'at. They had 100 different Neteru to choose from. They chose Set as their number one deity and dismissed everybody else. So now they were kicked out. The Hyksos were kicked out. So when they came back at the end of the second golden age, they adopted Set as their number one. So Typhon, the devil, and all of that comes out of the worship of Set and Saturn. No. There is no homosexual tendencies written or anything prior to the Hyksos. Now, I also heard some Hebrews talking about on the walls of Kemet, there's a whole bunch of phallic symbols and everything. I got pictures of that. Okay, the phallic symbols are making reference to men. Men is a form of amen that represents the nature of fertility. And even the phallic symbol that's coming from men isn't coming from down here, it's coming from his navel, which means that that's the center birth region of spirituality.
Your PowerPoint is ready. Right?
Okay.
Hold up, Rez. I'm deal with this.
Okay, all right, so
You know, Rez, they always talk about what about them pictures on the wall where he's sucking his own rod. And
yes,
I want
they
to
will,
get into that.
and the one that they're making reference to is talking about Geb. So Geb is lying down, and Nut, his divine spiritual mate, is over him. So first of all, see, they didn't even do their research, and they start bad mouthing. Geb ain't nobody in ancient Kemet. Geb represents a spiritual entity that did not exist in ancient Kemet. It was a force of nature, like air, like fire, like, okay, so Geb represents the earth. So the earth is sucking energy from Nut, which is heaven, the sky. Okay, so they need to understand that. Nut gives birth to all of the physical entities that exist. So then you will have, Asar, Aset, Nebuchadnezzar, and all of them comes birth from Nut. Right. So Shu and Tefnut are Geb's parents. Right. So this is all happening before physical entities come into existence. So this is not human sexuality. This is spiritual connection showing birth.
Is it quantum physics?
Yes, it is quantum physics, showing that everything divides and comes through, And so they're showing, remember I said earlier that science is spirituality that can be seen and felt. That's an example. When they see Geb with his penis out, this is science that can be seen. When they see Asar lying down, who is supposed to have been dead and resurrected, and Aset recreates his phallic symbol and takes his seed, we're showing you that's still male and female. That's not homosexual. That's male and female showing a divine birth. I see, first of all, they're just taking religion as belief without any proof. And then second of all, they don't know how to analyze things. And they don't know how to analyze things because they don't even know nature. They don't even know the mineral domain, the plant domain, the animal domain. So they're calling this worship of animals, not understanding that we're talking about the attributes and the power that these animals possess that also exists inside of us. And we want to accent those attributes because they're extremely positive and influential in our survival and to flourish. Well, I hear them say it. They're waiting for God to come back to destroy all of this. So that's a belief system. We need to let them know, ain't nobody coming back. They sent us. We got to deal with this. We have to straighten this out. So they need to understand that. Ain't nobody coming. Okay, so I need to tell people, please, wake up. That's number one. Just wake up. And I need to say, empower your African mind and escape from mental incarceration. So a lot of these people who are trapped in religion are trapped into mental incarceration. They're just like being inside of their religious book that has no real fact. And I was talking with Sonetta earlier. They can't show me or show the bones of anybody in the Bible. They can't show me the bones, the graves, the mummies of anybody in there. They can't show me no Hebrew, if the Hebrews built the pyramids, where their pyramids before they came to Egypt. And they're 2,000 years old before their creator came into existence of the Hebrew people.
They say in their own words.
You can sit on that side.
Okay.
So that way you can get to your slides and you can go in. Or you can go right there.
That would be better.
Just move your bag over there.
They say in their own words that that Abraham bought he bought some property from a Hittite. He ultimately buried his wife, right, who's one of the progenitor of the Hebrew nation. He buried her in a cave. Unmarked cave, no tomb, no pyramid, no nothing great, just a cave.
Because that's where they came from. You understand? All right. So I need to be clear. Move to the next slides. Let's go through. All right. we are being used like a battery. This comes straight out of the Matrix. I just tweaked it a little bit, so it's me and Morpheus together. The Matrix is a system of black people, Africans in America. That system is our enemy. But when we are inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of people that we're trying to save. But until we do, these people are still part of a system that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. That means that these people are so locked into religion, which puts them in a box, that even when they hear the truth, they can't even recognize it. All right? Next. Now, I want to show, this is a timeline. Dr. John Henry Clark taught us, your story is like a clock. It tells what time it is, what time it was, and what time to expect, what to expect in the future. Now, if you look here at the beginning, you see Haru M. Aketi. And Haru M. Aketi was already ancient before the first so-called dynasty or the beginning of the first golden age. There's no Hebrews, there's no Christians, there's no Arabs, there's none of them on the planet, and this is an African figure. So I need them to be real clear about this. Then we have Aha. He is the first uniter of Upper and Lower Kemet. But now, even before Aha unites Upper and Lower Kemet, I'm going to show you the incense burner from Giskil that shows you that that he was just a priest of a system that already existed in ancient Kash before Kemet came into existence. So I need to, there are religions, all the major religions of the world are not even in existence yet. And then we go to Imhotep, and then the step pyramids. Okay, so we're going to show this further. I just wanted to show people a concrete timeline. Let the Hebrews and all of them show you something like this. I want to see this. I want to see the Christian show, because all of this is done before Judaism, Christianity, and all that comes into existence. And so we have a unique. Now look, this is the Anubian Kaskil incense burner. Ancient Kash before Kemet. And so this clearly shows what I'm trying to, if you look over to the right, I'm saying raise your consciousness. The idea of the facade of the Great White House is all the way to the right. If you look to the center, you'll see Asar with you'll see the king with the white crown of Asar. If you look, you'll see Haru directly in the center, the great falcon. You see the star, the seven-pointed star connected to Aset and Sheshat. That means astronomy, astrology, already in existence before Kemet came into existence. And then you'll see other zoomorphic energies of Het Haru, the lion, men, fertility, all that already in existence. So the groundwork for ancient Kemet was already in existence before Kemet became a nation state. Here, having the proper spatial perspective. Most of our brothers that we're debating don't even have the proper spatial perspective. That means if I give them some good information, they can't even use it. That's the problem we're having. Here, it shows the Hopi River runs down north, not up north like the maps that they're using. In the center, you see a perspective of Africa with Asia. And then if you look to your right, you'll see Africa, the whole world. And the red lines show how Africa came out and populated the rest of the planet. But in the center here, it only shows you not only did we have a spatial perspective of the planet, we had spatial perspective of the heavens. This is called Haru's vision. You call it a zodiac, okay, or horoscope. Horror comes from the word Haru, okay, and scope is revision. So this is Haru vision. So that means that we had an understanding of the planet, an understanding of the heavens. So as above, so below. So it wasn't just a figure of speech, it was real. We understood that. You have to understand that if you're following the Europeans in 1492, they still thought the world was flat. The Hebrews don't come and give us no science. The Hebrews don't give us no astrology, no astronomy. Anything that they do have relating to that is veggie backing on top of ancient Kemet. And this is in existence before the first Hebrew, before Christianity, before Judah. All of this came into existence. This was already there.
Including Josephus' accounts, right? right?
Right. Josephus is in the common era. You know, and Josephus, he doesn't even meet Jesus. Okay, that he made that story up. Okay, go ahead. This is just another picture showing the world. This is the way it would be. You see Africa, this is the proper spatial perspective. So we've been upside down, inside up, inside out, and backwards. And when you're upside down, inside out, and backwards, then everything that you learn is probably incorrect or needs to be placed in a proper spatial perspective. So the Hebrew Israelites, the Moors, all of them have good information, but sometimes it's in an incorrect spatial perspective. Here, ancient Kemet images. Excellence. We depicted excellence at every chance we get. If you look at our Cushite brothers all the way to the top corner. Excellence. You look at, that's the ruler with the afro in the center. This is the first golden age. Look at Ra giving energy into, you see one of the sisters here, one of the energies here. You'll see male and female always shown together. Not two brothers, not two sisters, not no homosexuality. Here's the key. In the center, look at the queen, the sister. She's a high priestess. And so men and women were priests and priestesses. Look at the dancers and the musicians showing excellence. At the bottom, you see the royal family during Mentuhotep's reign, during the Middle Kingdom. All black folks. They had white paint. They chose black paint on purpose. Sankofa, this is what we're telling our people. Go back and fetch what you have lost or what you have stolen. We are divine spiritual beings having a divine human experience. We are the ones that we have been waiting for. So if you're waiting for somebody in your religious book to come in and save you, then I got bad news for you, okay? Christ is not come. Christ was here already, and Christ exists in us. It means the anointed ones who have the knowledge and wisdom and who can use it.
Real quick, the Hebrews actually say that Joseph is mental Hotep. But you can just comment real quick and let's just move on. In their chronology, Joseph is mental Hotep.
That's ludicrous. First of all, mental Hotep's lineage lines comes from ancient Cush. And so-called Joseph lineage lines come from Canaan. So that don't mix right there. So if we just do the genealogy, it doesn't mix. Okay? And so he's attached. His father was a king. Joseph's father wasn't a king. Okay? All right. So let's, Here we have written records. The Medu Netra, the divine words, wisdom based upon Ma'at. I need to say that. Not based upon how Infodisi feels, how the Afrocentric scholars feel. No, it's based upon Ma'at, truth, justice, righteous, harmonious, balance, reciprocity, all those things.
They don't know the feather is Ma'at.
The feather up to the top is Ma'at, next to Jehuti. Okay? So Jehuti is actually spiritually married to Ma'at. So that means that when it speaks, it has to speak righteousness and harmonious balance. At the bottom, we have the Rosetta Stone, which was one of the pieces of instruments used to help cipher the Medu Netra in the modern times. In the center, you have the Polaro stones. This is me in Kemet reading the writing on the wall, and my audience right now are Arab and European scholars taking notes while I'm speaking.
You're a young man there, brother.
This is me about 20 years ago.
Man, you've been in Kemet 20 years ago.
Right, I've been in Kemet over 25 times. I went 1981 was my first trip with Dr. Ben. Okay, here, the writing. So we're telling people, if you're serious about this scholarship, look up to write. Learn the alphabet first, then learn biliterals and triliterals, then learn some grammar. If you look down the center, you read this one from right to left, but Medu Netra can be read from right to left to right, or top bottom.
So
okay?
that says up on top, Ubin Ray, Ray M. Ake.
Correct. Rise, Ra, in the horizon. Rise, Ra, in the horizon. See, that's what we want our students to be able to do. So that when they look at the writing on the wall, they can translate it. He didn't take Infodisi's word for it. He read it. You understand? Okay, so that's what I need to say. Then you see Sebiyat. It means the teachings and the writings.
You don't know the message. You was trying to catch them out here.
Okay, all right.
It says, up there it says, D-Onk.
In the center. In the center.
Okay. It says D-Onk me, Ray, Jet, right? So that says basically give life like Ray forever.
Correct. For eternity. That's it. Exactly. All right. So if you're clear, and here, we talked about that cobra before. Look at the cobra in here. So they talking about, oh, you got these animals and everything. That cobra represents your kundalini energy, right? So they're saying this is land. So they're saying as long as you got land, you'll have nourishment. That's the tea, the bread.
Right.
As long as you have nourishment, you'll have energy. And if you have energy, you'll be connected to the Creator. And so therefore, you will live forever.
Well, let me ask you,
I believe in the one supreme being.
and what God could that be?
And I don't use the word God because that's a Gothic Greek word. Since our spiritual system was in existence 10,000, I give honor to the many manifestations, all manifested within Amen, the hidden, unseen, which they even say. Some of the Hebrews say amen at the end. Christians say amen.
Gardner, right?
Yes.
Gardner, the brother that got choked out.
Yes.
If you was to meet his wife and his family, what would you say to his wife and family using the mental netta?
Well, first of all, I would just go, Amin Ra Nasut Netra, Atin Ra Nebin Ankh, De Enu Ankh Uja Seneb, Jehuti Haru Nebhu. I would say, may the divine spirit creator that exists in all of us, may it take his soul and his spirit and bring it to heaven. And may his physical death not be the end, that you live through his spiritual life, and all those things is good because it still exists. And as long as you say his name, he's still alive, spiritually.
Hold it right now. They would say, and that's stuff to them.
Because what would help her is that his physical body is gone, but spiritually he's still alive. Why do you think people get power by mentioning Buddha's name? They don't know Buddha, but the energy of Buddha is alive. So you keep the energy of the deceased one alive. You put a picture of him on the wall. You have an edifice of him. You give praise to him. And through your meditation, you can still be in contact with his soul and his spirit. Do you understand? And so you can still get direction from your ancestor. So we say ancestors are people who've done great works, not just people who died. Okay, I just want to make that clear. Not just people. Uncle Bud, who was a pedophile, is not necessarily an ancestor you want to be worshiping.
I'm going to say something to you, right? Let me say this right quick. Me and my wife had a conversation. This was about a good 10 years ago. And we was laying in the bed, and she said to me, she said, Salik, because my name was Salik at that time, Salik Karan. She said, you know, I seen my grandmother. Her grandmother passed away. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, come on, baby, I hope you ain't losing it. You all right? She said, I'm telling you, I seen her in the room. She wasn't talking about the physical. She said, I seen the spirit. I seen the spirit. So I'm looking at her like, nah, come on, stop playing with me. I'm thinking there's something wrong with her. You know, but she kept telling me, even to this day, she will tell me, because she told me last night. She said, remember, I told you I seen my grandmother and you didn't believe me. Because it was a movie that came on and she was looking at the spirits and the energy. And she said, remember I told you I seen my grandmother? I seen my grandmother. And she still say that till this day.
Scientifically, even metaphysics and the greatest sciences will tell you, energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed from one state to the other. So what you need to understand is that we are not our bodies. Our body is just a container that's housing your consciousness. When the body dies, the consciousness can continue. The spirit can continue. And if they still have work to do, then yes, they can aid you on your mission, because the soul also has a mission that it has to accomplish. So some souls are here to aid you on your mission, which is helping them on its mission, so that it can evolve to a higher plane. Do you understand? So just like a person can have an outer body experience, how you gonna have an outer body experience if you're your body? You can only have an outer body experience because who you really are is not your body. Your body is ruled by the ego. The ego creates an illusion. When you think the illusion is reality, then you're lost. And so that's what religion does. Religion keeps you locked into this 3D instead of rising to the fourth and fifth dimension to a higher spiritual consciousness.
So in the Christian and the Hebrew, they are all in a waiting space because they're not here. They're in a waiting space for one of the saviors, whether it's Christ or Elohim himself, to come back. So they're not existing amongst the living. They can't help. Their ancestors can't help. Our ancestors can continuously help. Theirs, they're in the ground waiting to be.
Plus, they've denied the ones that can help, because most of them are just African people who've adopted Hebrewism, but they've denied that connection. See? So if you're denying my help, I can't help you.
And well, I would say when we was dealing with Eric Gardner's what to say to Eric Gardner as a warrior, because you are a martial arts teacher for many years, right?
Right.
I told them that we would bring up the Sinwar set boundary stella, meaning that the situation in our lives is not going to be corrected until we declare our boundaries and fight for our hairs.
Oh, yes. It's unquestionable. You see...
And they laughed. The Hebrews laughed. The head, the captain, who I didn't expect him to laugh, right?
But see, they're going to laugh if they don't understand.
They laugh what they don't understand.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't understand.
But remember when I showed you the map upside down?
Right.
So if you're upside down, inside out, and backwards, Reggie, even if you give them some good information, they can't even decipher it. They can't use it.
Is that mind control?
Well, religion's main job is to have mind control, because I need to have a predictability of who you are, what you're going to do, and where your money going, where your allegiance is. I need to keep you in my box. That's what religion does. That's why there are religious wars. Ain't no spiritual wars. There's religious wars, right? A jihad, or whatever.
And
Crusades.
If I was a student of the system and I did wrong, right? Do you have the right to tell me that I did wrong? Do you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you have the right to say that I am not doing.
That you out of balance. You out of my art.
If some Hebrews, right now, there were 6 camps of Hebrews, right? One camp is ignoring the wrong that another camp did. It's just not mentioning it. Meaning they brought in a Hebrew who happened to be a law enforcement officer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they let him speak for all of them, right? But this other group, they denied the fact that even happened. They just said, well, we're not doing it. This is ISUPK. ISUPK is not in charge of that. You got to go and ask them. We're saying, but why do we have to go and pick and choose and ask, what Hebrew are you? We think all Hebrews are the same, or all Israelites are the same. So if I was doing East Fed, you would say, well, Brother Reggie, you get a minus mark, and guess what? Your salvation, you're going to have to deal with that in your salvation.
Right.
But
you might not be Ma'akaru, Okay, I want to hit this point here. This is another reason why we need to study Medu Neter. Can you point the camera back to what's going on here? If you look all the way to the right, if we use European Egyptologists to define our Medu Neter, we're always going to be wrong again. So this is like the Hebrews looking for somebody else who wrote their book and then following that. So the first name up there, it says Hatshepsut. In European, that's what it says. But it doesn't say that in the glyphs.
Did I say what it says?
Inside of the glyphs, go ahead, my brother.
So it says Ramaka is one of her names, and the other name is Iman Hatshepsut.
Right, Hatshepsut Iman. Because Iman is the Neter, it's written first and spoken last. So, and some of our people don't want to learn grammar. Okay, so look, so Hatshepsut Aman Ma'at Kara.
That's correct.
They wrote just Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut said that her parents was Amen.
So they give her a nickname.
So they took away the main thing that she was deifying.
I don't have my
That's all right, good.
laser point.
Okay, so, right. So, just get, Aman is at the beginning of her name, and they leave it totally out. Like, for example, look at the next name. It says Tet Ankh Amen. So, if you did it here, why didn't you do it here? So, we can't trust them. But then they leave out that he's Heka Iwentsu. He is the ruler from the south of the city of columns.
Sihu and Heka. You know about the Sihu and Heka?
I know Heka means power, power and dominion, yes, and strength. And then, Neb Kepiru Ra. Okay, he is master of coming forth into the energy of light, of truth, of righteousness. Okay, so that is good. But they don't say all that here. Sin were said, okay, they kind of got this, but they put the first. Here, they got the fourth. This says Thutmoses. It says Jehutimus. Okay? So we can't trust him. Where's Thet on here? It's not there. That says Jehuti Mus, born of the energy of Jehuti, who represents articulate thought, speech, writing, and action. Okay? Here, Ramses II. It don't say Ramses II nowhere up there. Here, I love this stuff. His ruling name is Ursa Ma'at Ra Satepin Ra. Okay? Right, you know, then over here, he says what? It says, Mesu Ra Meri Aman. He is beloved of Aman, but he is what? Born of the energy of Ra. So we can't use European terminology to define our glyphs. This is why we teach our students to read the Medu Neter so that we can read the writing on the wall, and we're not taking anybody's word for it. This is just some other writing. This is directly from the so-called pyramid text. So in case people think I just made it up, this is a copy of the pyramid text on the wall inside of Unas's temple, Pepi's temple. We see his name right here, Pepi. So I don't have to be guessing whose temple this is. Inside of the Shin, it tells you that this is Pepi, and this is part of the pyramid text. Okay, I say that if you want to learn the Medu Neter, there's 14 different steps. And real quickly, I say learn the alphabet, monosyllabic symbols. Then I say Sanu, I say learn syllabic symbols, biliterals and triliterals. Then I say learn your complements and determinatives. Then I say you have to learn numerical principles, numbers and adjective. For example, here's your numbers. Wa, Sanu, Shemut, Fadu, Diu, Sisu, Sefekiyu, Kemenu, Pasejiyu, Maju. Then 100, shot. Then, 1,000, ka. Then.
What they say.
So after that, then I say kemenu. Study the nature. See, this is where our colleagues they're lost. I say study nature. Study earth in all its forms and know how it relates to human beings. So when you see the Neteru, these zoomorphic images looking like a bird or a crane, the people who are talking bad about it don't know nature, don't know its attributes. They don't know, its spiritual contribution to our enlightenment. See, if you're into religion, they don't even want you doing this stuff.
No, they do Kabbalah.
Yeah,
they do Kabbalah in secret.
Yes. Okay, so again, you need to know we created astronomy and astrology and numerology, not no Hebrews. This was in existence before Abraham came into existence. And the last point I say, in-depth study of the Neteru, that's mentally, physically, and spiritually from a pan-African spiritual perspective. So in other words, Africans even outside of Africa can teach us about the Kemetic spiritual system because there's a connection. Next. Here, these are 42 ideals of Ma'at. So we talk about this. This is a system that guided us. And I talk about, before there was Moses, there was Ma'at. Do they see that? Before there was Moses, there was Ma'at. And Moses is the so-called lawgiver of the Hebrew people. They didn't have no laws before Moses, okay? So if you believe he existed, okay, which is probably a fairy tale, but everything that they acclaimed to Moses comes from ancient Kemet because they said Moses was a priest in ancient Kemet.
Right. They're going to say your teacher and our teacher, Dr. Ben, says that Abraham existed.
Well, if they did, then all their knowledge still comes out of Kemet. So all roads still going to lead back to the Nile Valley. Go ahead. Here. So I love this part here. This will help a lot of people. I'm just going to take some general stuff. When I say you're upside down, inside out, and backwards, and everything you think you know has to be relearned, are you looking through the world through your cultural eyes? See, the Hebrew Israelites are not. Christians are not. If you're a black Christian, you're not looking at the world through African eyes. If you're a Buddhist, you're not looking at the world through African eyes. If you're into Hinduism, you're not looking at the world through African eyes. If you're into any of those religions, you're not looking at the world through Dr. Amos Wilson used to say, we see ourselves through the eyes of our oppressor. And that's where the self-hate comes from. We're not looking at ourselves from an ancestral spirit. Okay.
Is it all right to take questions now, or you want to wait?
Let me just do this, and then I'll take questions. Yes. Yes, I'll take some questions. Okay.
Call back in about another half.
Okay. Watch this. Oh, no, go back. Oh, can you go back? Okay. I want to do this because this is elementary. Watch this here. This shows you how other people have bamboozled our legacy. So even if you think you're studying ancient Egypt and you think you went to the library, you got all the books, you know, you listen to the tapes and the DVDs, look at here. The first word, Egypt. That has nothing to do with ancient Kemet. That's a Greek word. That's a bastardization. Our word was, remember I said, here's the word right here, Kemet. Okay, the black community. Okay, all right? Or we use Tamari, the beloved land.
The Moors always say, how can you call
They don't read
There was
Madun.
no land called
They don't read the Madun Necha. I'm going back to then. Read, the Madun Necha means the divine words of the Creator.
They don't count. They're in the common era. We in
Right. So we're dealing with ancient time. We're dealing before the word Moors came into existence.
Go ahead.
Okay, so now, Pharaoh. They were talking about Pharaoh is not a Kemetic word. Nobody in ancient Kemet before the Greeks called their ruler the Pharaoh, which means comes from the word per-ah, the great house. We didn't call ourselves the house. When Obama comes to town, you don't say the White House is coming to town. You say President Barack Obama is coming to town. Okay? So, Pharaoh, a misnomer. Get rid of that word. It's the Nasut Biti, the Sarah, the Shemsu Haru, the Nebtawi. Okay? All right, so we need to...
have to explain their Genesis. They have to explain that.
Yeah, because their Genesis is being written in this common era when the Greeks, they're getting information from the Greeks as opposed to the Medunetia. Okay, a cartouche. A cartouche is a French word that talks about a bullet. So when they saw this elliptical orbit like this here, circular, they said, the French, when Napoleon came, when Alexander came, they said, oh, that looks like a cartridge bullet. So now we go to Egypt talking about, I want my name in a cartouche. No, it's a shin, an elliptical orbit where the sun, where you rule every place the sun goes.
And that says, Eman Hatchesset.
Right. Excellent. And you see where he's saying here, so he did the Eman first, but I would do the Hatshepsut Iman first. Right. Now, hieroglyphics. We don't have hieroglyphics. We have Madun Necha. See, you can't let other people define yourself. Sphinx. This guy is not a sphinx. That's a mythological creature with wings that will kill you if you don't know the riddle.
Now,
It has nothing to do with Haru M. Aketi.
show us is the proper name Haramakit?
No, Haramakit is people who couldn't read the Madun Necha broke it down wrong.
So this is not the Sphinx.
No, that's Haru M. Aketi.
And it's also not Haramakit, which means Haru is on the horizon.
Right. See, Haru was on the horizon is not Harmakis.
Okay.
They broke the word down wrong. This is somebody who didn't know grammar. So they got the right words, right? And they broke it up wrong. It's like I can take it wrong of my name if I break it up. If you give me the board, I can write it down there. Okay, Brittany here.
What you got to say to your brother?
I'll just leave it there. Something like this here. So they would go her, ma, ket. Hamakis. But it's Haru M. Aket. Okay? So they had the right word, but because they didn't know grammar, and Budge is guilty of this. Budge said a lot of words, knew the meaning of the word, but broke them up because he was not that in depth in the Kemetic grammar, which was developed on a higher level after Budge. Budge wrote the book, the Pert M. Haru, in 1895.
Can I see the board real quick?
Mm-hmm. So, and again, so the key here is that because they didn't know Medunetia grammar, you took the real word and broke it up and said it, so you just said Hamak, as opposed to Haru M. Aketi.
So that's what that is. That's
Right.
Haru M. Aketi.
Right. Okay. So again, so we're not like talking bad about our scholars who are using this, because I know Oswald Quasey uses this, a couple other people uses this. No, they got the right words, they just pronouncing it wrong because they don't know Coptic, they don't know Medunetia, as a written language. Yeah, some of our brothers like that. Right.
Some of our great teachers, like our greatest teacher, Dr. Yosef Ben Jochanan, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is not known for translating the Medunetia, but he knows what exists.
Right.
And he produces students to go better and do it better than him, like you.
Right.
So
And
he produced you.
in fact, Dr. Ben used to still use the Greek words when we were there, but he said, I don't want you doing it. I want you to find the real glyphs. So that's what I'm doing. I'm
So
following.
we go behind
I'm behind our elders.
Just like you are here teaching, and I'm far under you. But if you just miss something,
Then you're here to
then
catch
I'm
that.
here to catch or ask the question.
Correct. Okay, and last, Nile means nothing in Arabic and stuff like that. Nile is the longest. The ancient name is Hapi. Not the Nile River, it's the Hapi River. Hapi of the north, Hapi of the south. The longest river in the world.
It's
And
represented by two people.
right, and it doesn't flow up north, it flows down north from up south. So see, we're changing people's whole paradigm. Mummy. Mummy is an Arabic word. There was no mummies in ancient Kemet. Mummy comes from the word mumia, which is a sap, a glue, used to hold the white linen together. It's called a sa. So the mummy, what they call a mummy, was called a sa or the sahu. Pyramid, Greek, a pie, a cake. Our word is mirkut. It is an instrument of fire.
So
The triangle,
miracle.
right? Mirkut.
So we
Okay.
say Merkut Sabiat.
Right. Text.
And we
Right.
say coffin text, where we say Kares.
The Kares Sabiat.
Right.
All right. So, and the last one down here, many gods. We already dealt with that. Those attributes going along the side at the bottom, those are not gods. They represent principles and laws. Let me ask the readers. Flash back again. Is gravity a god? No. Does gravity care whether you believe in it or not? No. Does gravity care whether you're black or white? Does gravity care what your sexual gender is? It affects all of us. That's the way these principles are. They don't care whether you believe in it or not. All science, all mathematics, all principles are based upon these so-called deities, but they are natural. They just represent principles of laws that govern the planet.
It's a scientific language.
It's a scientific, it's scientific language. I explained science is spirituality that you can see.
See, this is something that the Hebrews can never get with. No. When they say, oh, no, y'all believe in many gods.
Yeah.
We just believe in one God. Y'all have many gods.
One science, one creative force. We just have it like chemistry, biology, right? When you separate chemistry, biology, right, and all the rest of the sciences, right? That's what we do. When we're talking about a particular group of scientific notation, we might say ray. If we're talking about something else, we might say atom. But it is the total science is one science.
Right. See, let me say this here. There's another scholar. He has a book called The Golden Apple, and he talks about symptomatic thought and symbolic thought. Those people who are arguing only know symbolic thought, so they don't know why the symbol means that. They only know what was attributed to that symbol. We, and as people who
We as what?
Kemetu pre-scientists. So that's what I am. I'm a Kemetu, an African Kemet pre-scientist. We learn symptomatic thought first. Symptomatic means it is what it is, concretely, right? And now that I know what it is concretely, now I can add a symbolic thought to that. So I can't be bamboozled because I know the origins of it. See, the people who are saying, oh man, you worshiping so-and-so, they don't know the origin of that thought. They only know that it's a symbol, and they don't understand the symptomatic concept. See, the world right now is being controlled by symbolic thought. And Hitler used the swastika sign. That was a beautiful sign in Africa. That was a beautiful sign used by the Ghanaians. That was a sign used in ancient Kemet. That was a sign used by the ancient indigenous Native Americans. And it meant brotherhood and oneness and bond. And Hitler turned it around. So now if you only know symbolic thought, and you see Hitler's swastika, and now you see it on the Kemet wall, you say, see? You know, they were worshiping, the white folks and all of that. But they don't, that's only symbolic thought. They didn't know the symptomatic thought. See, when Hitler got turned on to Kemet, he even changed the national symbol of Hitler, of Germany, to the falcon.
Let me ask you, Brother Reggie.
Oh, the author's name
Brother
is
Reggie.
Edgar Ridley.
Brother
Yeah,
Reggie.
Edgar
Golden
Ridley,
Apple.
right. Look at that symbol, that second symbol up here. Second symbol right here. See the Ankh in the center, right? So this is showing the Medu Neter being written in both directions. Here, it says Ankh Nasut Biti. That means the living ruler of Upper and Lower Kemet. But then it says the same thing going in the opposite direction. Ankh, Nasut Biti, the living ruler of Upper and Lower Kemet. Life, living, eternal life, because life cannot be destroyed. The feminine principle, the male principle, and the children. No homosexuality in that. That's the centerpiece next to Ma'at in our, spiritual system.
So we receive that.
See, they also, because he only knows symbolic, he's dealing with spookism and mythology, right? That's not based upon something. Look at this cat. All right? Now, bring the camera back here. I want to ask our audience, when you see a black cat pass your path, what do you think?
Bad luck.
We had bad luck. Reggie, off the bat, not based upon your comedic knowledge, right? When you see the black cat pass your path,
Something's going to happen.
you think something's going to happen.
I messed up.
That shows you that you've been bamboozled from the Western world.
That's right.
Guess what? When a black cat passes your cross in front of you, it means that that animal is going somewhere. That's all it means. If a black cat passes you, it means he's going somewhere.
He's looking for his next meal. Or mate. He's looking for his mate or get mated.
Right.
He's busy doing cat
It
food.
has nothing to do with some superstition or
It's
nothing.
the same thing.
Here's
Angel
the next
food, devil food. Right?
The Nasut Biti, rulers of the United Two Lands, or Semitawi, or Tameri, or ancient Kemet. And so here I'm showing clearly pictures of the rulers. We're not making something up. They can't show you nobody in the Bible that they really existed. The Hebrews are veggie backing on top of Catholicism. But they can't show you or produce the bones of anybody that exists in that book. Here, this is Narmer. We have his gravesite. He's the founder of the first golden age. This is Khufu. He is the person that Imhotep built. Here's the Great Pyramid, the largest pyramid in Kemet. So that's Khufu, and his pyramid is called Khufu Im Aket. Okay, here this is Mentuhotep, the founder of the second golden age. All of these are people in the first golden age. The first golden age. And European, they had the clown from Harvard, Skippy Gates, come on television and say that the black Africans only came in the 25th dynasty. And then he bring 3 white Egyptologists in to say, oh yes, we had some black kings in the 25th dynasty from Kush. Who are these guys? If he's not black, tell me what is he? If he's not an African, if he's not, who are these people?
Now the Hebrews they do symbolic thought.
That's symbolic thought without knowing symptomatic thought.
That's correct.
Okay, so that leads in there. Here's Nasut, Hemet, Weret, Tayi. Right, so queen, I want to say this, my brother. We should stop calling our rulers in ancient Kemet, the females, queens. Queen is a European terminology, which means the whore of the king. Okay, so I know we're trying to give our women accolades and good things by saying our queen, but no, that's a Western terminology. She is the Hemet Nasut Weret, which means the great royal wife. Or sometimes they'll say the Hemet Nasut Weret, the mother of the Necharu. All right, so here, look at Akhenaten. This is her son, Akhenaten, okay? Akhenaten is his correct name, all right? And look, this is Amen. So when people say amen at the end of their prayers, look how black he is. He's depicted there. Okay, so Moors don't want to use black. Look.
Amen.
So don't use the word black, use the word Kemet then. Kim.
Say word, think of him.
Right. So everybody, you don't want to use the word black, say Kim and think of that. Okay? And then here we have Keper Ma'atra.
Your brother.
That's not Horus down there at the bottom?
No, that's just Horus behind him.
Oh, okay.
The second largest pyramid is built by him.
He's represented.
His consciousness. See, the falcon also represents higher consciousness. So he's trying to show you that his high consciousness is with a falcon. Look, again, this is the person that the step pyramids is built for. He's not a brother. Look at that. The Zoser or Netriket. Right. Okay, look. Huni. Look at all these people. These are all black people. Look. Tutankhamun. Here, look, that guy's he's not a brother. Okay? And then they try to say because his legs are so big, the Europeans say he had elephantitis. No, he wears the same size shoe that Shaq wear. Okay, so if he got elephantitis, Shaq got elephantitis. Okay, go ahead. They shot the noses off and still can't hide the black truth. And so it shows you here, if you go to the museums, you'll see all the noses knocked off. But look, it's obviously, these are all African people. And all of these are before the 25th dynasty. So I'm trying to show you, trying to say blacks came only in the 25th dynasty. Look at De Zoser again. Look at his profile. Okay. Hatshepsut Aman being depicted as the ruler of ancient Kemet. So we gave homage to our women, not like these other groups. Christianity took the woman out. We have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. I don't know what happened to the mother, okay? In Judaism, the woman got to stand behind them. They can't be put out in front. Here we show African women actually ruled the country. This was during the Kushite 25th dynasty. We have one of the great royal women.
Symbolically, this is just how they think,
No,
right?
she is a...
Shows she's fit to rule like a man.
Right.
She's depicted in this, but she's not always depicted like this.
Right. Here she has breasts and is depicted in a very feminine manner. Right. And then here she's depicted in a masculine, showing that she has the same power.
Except for her thighs.
Right.
Except for her thighs. Right.
Okay. Here she's depicted in the Haru Im Aketi style. So each of the rulers also depicted themselves, starting from the first golden age all the way to the Greeks, showing here. But look at here. Oh, that was Hatshepsut temple. That's Hatshepsut Iman's temple. This is the sister here. This is her mortuary temple. Next to it over here, she was copying her temple off of Mentuhotep, who had his temple over here. But go ahead. Look at these brothers. This is the second golden age. This is the 12th dynasty. Look, these are not Africans. Look at, he got big Rastafarian locks. Look, these brothers are so African that the Europeans said, we don't know who they are. We just know they...
Too, right? You know they go against locks too.
Yeah,
They
okay.
say you don't supposed to have locks.
You're supposed to wear your hair any way you want to.
They wear locks, they just cover it up. Most of them, look at some of the teachers that's walking around. They got locks. Look at them. So let's keep it moving.
Okay, keep it
That's
moving.
symbolic. And that's you with mental health.
This is me.
He's probably watching too.
Right. This is me standing next to Mentuhotep, the founder of the second golden age, so-called 11th dynasty. And their family lodged in Waset, coming from ancient Kush. Go ahead. All right, I'm not going to go through all this. This just shows you simply, this is a Sarek, a facade of the White House, and it shows Nebra, but the king depicted himself as Haru, the great falcon. So that was just one of the, this is Tutankhamun's name just being written out so you can see it, and I break up the individual things inside of it. It's great bulls. He is the living Haru, Ra, the great bull. Here he says that I am the living Nasut Biti, ruler of Upper and Lower Kemet. But watch this. He says, I am Sa-Ra. This is where the Christians get from. The son of God, right? The son of the sun.
Right.
All right. Go ahead. Just to show again a collage of all those rulers together. This is what they call Amenhotep, but Hotep Amen and his mate, Queen T, or Hemet Nasut Weret Tayi, right? And their daughter here. All right, go ahead. Again, how did the Remech, that's the original people, the Kemetu, see themselves? And I want people to see it, every aspect. They had white and pink paint. So this is how they depicted themselves. This is how Tutankhamun depicted himself. This is how the rulers depicted themselves. Go ahead. This comes from, I have a depiction from the Middle Kingdom, the second golden age, and from the third golden age. And here we show, this is the Kemetu, that's the Kushite, that's the European, this is the Asiatic. We never depicted ourselves like that or like that. Here, again in the third golden age, the Nubian and the Egyptian, the Kemite. So we both were different shades of black, but again, the European and the Asiatics, we never depicted ourselves like that.
The Heights Coast, right? So show me the high schools.
This is supposed to be the so-called Hyksos.
High school. And with the beard, right?
Right.
But that's who they symbolically depict themselves of. They don't depict themselves of as black people. It's not depicted as that they are black people, is it?
No.
But they have beards.
Yes.
Those are the things that they represent, right?
So y'all represent foreigners to our land who came in.
All right, now, Infidisi, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I hope you can answer this, man.
Just go to the next one anyway. Go ahead.
How is
He
this?
said go to the next one.
How
Oh,
is
that's
No,
this?
one more.
How is this going to liberate us as a people?
Okay, when the other brother Reggie
And
did a
you know
little.
that came from a Hebrew in the chat.
Okay, excellent.
And that's why I asked you, because
Okay.
I know you would have a good
Yes,
answer.
sir. Yes, sir. First of all, Ma'at. I heard them brothers cussing and fussing and disrespecting everybody.
Go ahead.
Ma'at, it teaches us respect. That's number one. And if we don't have respect, see, we have to agree to disagree. You don't need to be cussing me out because I don't agree with you. I don't need to be an MF and all those other things because I don't have the same philosophical foundation. You see, we're in a time where those Hebrew Israelites are catching the same hell we're catching. They're getting a foot up their butt by the oppressor. So we need to be able to come together to deal with our enemy who don't like either one of us. If they see me on the street and they see the Hebrew Israelites on the street, the police don't care to tell us apart. They whipping both of us. We be in jail together, okay? And it's no use us fighting. We need to be plotting on how collectively we can get out of this mess. So first of all, if we're using Ma'at, it's going to make us more righteous people. First of all, and if we know our real history, if we know our story, then we know once we did it once, we can do it again. And we can even make it better. And we're standing on the foundation. Children become more proud. We can get back into math and science when we understand that we are the original mathematician and scientists of the world.
Can I add?
Not imitating nobody. Okay? So I want to say that. So this is going to help us. What those architectural drawings, I'm going to show some pictures here. You see, the Christians just adopted the Kemet temples, and the cathedrals there were built by the ancient Kemet or the African science. So we're the real architects and engineers. We need to be building our own stuff, and we have the talent to do it, not doing it for white folks. We need to take our money and pool it together, create black banks. Let me say this. Kemet is the first nation state. That means that even America is patterned in concept after ancient Kemet. The only democracy that has ever kind of existed has been somewhat, through the Kemetic theocracy system. So we need to be able to resort to that to rebuild our nation. Not put all of our stuff in a book, not faith on somebody's coming to liberate us. We have to be able to liberate ourselves. And Kemet, the word sovereignty, they need to hear this. The word sovereignty comes from ancient Kemet.
That's correct.
It-
Similar set.
right.
Boundary Stella. Which I was trying to talk to.
Right,
Sorry,
and-
I have a intellectual conversation.
Say it one
with
more
the
time
brother.
so they hear.
Sinwar set creates the concept of sovereignty for the world with the boundary stella, which I
And
was
that's
trying
the
to
second
articulate.
golden age of ancient Kemet. That's like 2000 BCE. Go ahead.
That's what I gave. What I was attempting to let him know that Solon of the Greeks learned about city-states from ancient Kemet, from what Sinwar set did, because Sinwar set went as far as Greece. So when they talk about people who gave Greek the golden age, they're talking about that man Sinwar set and his concept of sovereignty. But I was trying to have an intellectual conversation with someone who is just who easily accepts the stuff that white folks says, but when it comes to our stuff, he has a mental block. And I was saying, brother, it's in the history. Just read. Don't listen to Brother Reggie. Read white history. His name is Sesostris to the white folks.
To the white folks. Set also is accredited to being the founder of ancient Greece. So let them smoke on that. The people he look up to.
They don't do history.
Okay.
Keep on, keep on.
All right, so again, you see what I'm saying? Look at here. When we talk about health, right now we need to get our health together. The whole idea of modern medicine comes from ancient Kemet. Don't come from no Hebrews. Don't come from no Christians. It comes from ancient Kemet. Here, brothers doing massage therapy, Reiki, and things of that nature. Ancient Kemet. Okay?
No, they took that away. They tried to take that away. They tried to say that we use
Tell the
sperm
people in the
flavoring.
audience that you need to understand symptomatic thought before you understand symbolic thought. And then you can't be bamboozled. You'll know what the symbols mean. They've even shown pictures at Kumombo, at the temple of Kumombo. There are medical instruments on the wall, and those are the same medical instruments that are being used today in modern medicine. The same instruments today. They understood the flow of blood, the heartbeat, all the words that we use for the brain, and all of that comes from ancient Kemet.
Including the Ebers papyrus.
Go ahead. Right. All right, here. They talk about the fourth golden age, so I'm just going to just deal with it with one slide here. The fourth golden age is the Kushite rule from up south. So this is actually one of the largest nation states that ever existed in the world, ruled by Africans who came from Sudan, the interior of Africa. And their empire went all the way from like Khartoum, where the Happy splits, right, the Blue Nile and the White Nile, where it splits all the way to the Mediterranean and into Syria and Palestine. These brothers ruled the Israelites,
Ho, ho.
the ancient Kushites.
Yanti, Tahaka, Shabaka.
Right, and that's who these, the Pianki, Shabaka, Tahaka, Pianki, all these, Shabaka. This is the Shabaka stone, going back, giving reference to Ptah, and all of those things. Okay, so I need to make it
When
clear.
the Hebrews came into Kemet, you took care of them, right? You opened the doors for them. You let them in. You fed them. You clothed them. You.
Right, and there is no,
Running,
right.
hiding from somebody.
They came in begging and everything, okay? And nobody chased them out. And they did not part no Red Sea. That comes from an African folktale that they got from ancient Kemet. See, they were hoping you couldn't read them and do Netcha, because all those so-called miracles that so-called Moses performed are in papyri and written on the walls in ancient Kemet prior to so-called Moses. So somebody took those stories off the walls of ancient Kemet and put it in the Hebrew
I would
text.
say that they were not sheltered from our science and our way of life, right? The Canaanites were not sheltered. The Hyksos were not sheltered. They came, all great people came to Kemet for their golden age, and so they were not sheltered from the wisdom of ancient Kemet. I would say it like that.
Yes.
Just to be respectful to people
Yes.
who are not respectful to us. But we practice mine so we can be humble and respectful, right? But when you get up on your presentation, all you do is defile African people, right? To sell your religion, right? But we don't have to do that.
We don't have to do that.
We don't have to do that.
I've heard them on 125th say, the filthy Africans. The filthy Why we have to be why we just can't be Africans?
I know he did.
Why we just can't be Africans? Just respect. We respect you. Just respect us. So that's what Ma'at does. That's what we bring to the table. We bring Ma'at. So here, look, it says Tahaka. He is the black Nasut ruler from Kush, Kemet. Okay, and he became a Kemetic king. Here, you see here, leaders from Napata, the capital of the it says so-called black gods, ruled the largest kingdom in Africa. Okay, so I just need to be clear about that.
And that's their family up on top. Show that whole family. Right? That's a whole family.
Look at this. These are ancient Kushite rulers. This is their mortuary symbols, what we call shawaptis. How do we give honor and praise? We speak and write their names. We honor their great completed works, and that's what we're doing here before you. We complete their incompleted works, and that's what we're also doing here. We're resurrecting and helping keep trying to make us sovereign here in the 21st century.
And we're sharing. We're different generations.
Right.
So you're a master teacher, and we're sharing. And
So that means that we're doing their incompleted works, and we create perfect images of them in their carvings, sculpture, paintings, statues, and monuments, so their likeness will be remembered for eternity. So this is not a feel-good thing. This temple still exists. You know, these pyramids, there's more pyramids in ancient Kush right now than there is in Kemet. These monuments, the Mirkut, they still exist. This row of Haru Imaketi, ram's heads and stuff, still exists. The Tekken still exists. So this is not some feel-good stuff. Look at this. This is science. No religions can talk about this. The temple of Amun-Ra was the largest temple in the world, 1.5 miles long and 1 mile wide. The ancestor says, we left the instructions written in stone, but y'all refused to read it. Look, here I am at the temple, and you see Asar. Here I am at that column of ram-headed Neheru-im Aketis. Here I am at the Mirkut text, the step pyramid. So we're showing you this still exists. I'm there. You can go. Here I am at the temple of Amun-Ra, a Put Isut, still there. This is inside of the temples in Mahez, which they call Beni Hassan today, where in the Middle Kingdom, or the so-called Second Golden Age, they built monuments for their warriors, for their generals. So this is the first place. This is the first memorial. It's the first memorial cemetery in recorded history. All our generals, the Kushite, the Magi warriors were all buried in Mahez. Mahez, which they call today Beni Hassan.
Some of that went over their heads. You didn't say Thebes and Karnak
Right.
and Luxor, so they don't know.
So that's why it's important for us to read the Medunetia. These are not your founding father ancestors. These clowns here, who most of them had slaves. These are your Kemetic ancestors, who these people were imitating. Here I am at Abu Simbel, dedicated to Ursa Ma'at-Ra, Setepet-Ra. You can see how colossal they are. Here I am standing in front of Haru-im Maketi and the Great Pyramids. Here I am at Seti I's temple, dedicated to Seti I. Here I am at the Bent Pyramid. Go ahead. So these things are still there. This, I know, is going to fly over your head. This is showing you that every temple was based upon astrology, astronomy, and high science. The golden mean is here. The golden spiral is the root formula for all organic life on the planet. That means trees, leaves, even the Milky Way is in the golden spiral. Our buildings were built to that. Every doorway is based upon the formula of pi before the Greeks came into existence. So you have the golden means and pi, showing here the circumference, the tekens. This is all, and it's identical to your pineal gland. That's the baguette on the doorway. It would be where your pineal gland is inside of your head. So we knew the human anatomy, as well as astronomy, astrology, and we brought it to life. You see, when you look at these temples, y'all just taking pictures and laughing. But you don't understand the high science that's involved in every temple.
They see it as the Christless symbol or the mini symbol. We're talking about the winged Ra, right? Which for us it means man know thyself. It's
Right.
a hard day a day.
When I went to Kemet with Dr. Ben the first time in 81, Dr. Ben said that on every temple it said know thyself. So I couldn't read the Medunetia, so I'm looking for know thyself somewhere. So after about the fourth temple, I said, Dr. Ben, I don't see no know thyself. He said, you darn fool. It's on top of the doorway. The victorious baguette means that you've conquered Set inside of you. So therefore, in order to defeat Set, you have to know you. You have to know the Haru that exists in you. And you have risen. Now you know yourself. And that's on every temple.
And then the Nasut also carries the Y symbol, which is a cess animal. So it shows that the Nasut has mastered Set, right? He rules.
He's ruled Set.
He rules Set.
Doesn't kill Set. He just rules it. And look, the Tekken here. But also the circumference. Wait. The radius minus the circumference is equal to the speed of light. Now, I know that went past some of y'all head, but it shows you how deep the ancient Kemet was. Go ahead.
Some people say that Kemet is so confusing. This is what I'm looking at the text. They say Kemet is so confusing.
See, they don't want to study. It's only It's only confusing to people who only know symbolic thought and don't want to read the Medunetia and do some deep studying.
But he's a PhD, right? And I at least have a bachelor's in computer science. So we do science and then we do history. We get high degrees, right? So it's confusing if you're not going. First, we are commanded to conquer the European education, correct?
Right.
Just to get to our education. So if this is confusing, I know you never took a calculus course. I never know. I know you didn't take a differential algebra course, right? A linear Boolean algebra course.
Solid geometry.
That's correct. You can't do economics. See, that's why you are so confused and dumb, right? And enslaved.
Again, all these buildings still exist based upon the high science. Look at here. Here I am at the temple of Keper F. Ra, his mortuary temple, at the base standing next to Haru M. Aketi. There are no right angles on this building. Every corner is rounded, which means that they were dealing with sound. They were using acoustic sound for healing. For you can use sound to make objects weightless. And they can do it today in metaphysics. They can hit a certain pitch and objects will become weightless. And so the ancient Kemetu knew this. And this was built before the pyramids were built. And these blocks, they can't even hardly do this today. These blocks weigh 5 tons, 20 tons. All right, move on. This is in ancient Kemet. Those are pyramids, in Kush and Sudan. Yeah, almost. We moving, just almost. You can move on. This is science gonna go way over the head. That's the golden mean here, showing that everything, the pyramids were lined up with the golden mean. Go ahead. Not no Bonacci,
They don't know
Bonacci theory or nothing like that.
What do you mean? You mean the siren belt? What do you mean the stars? What are you talking about being lined up? Lined up with what? What is the pyramid? Above
These three pyramids are lined up with Sahu's belt.
Khufu, Khafra, and Menkaure.
Right. And this golden stick goes around where the Haru M. Aketi is. So it means that the people who laid this out understood the heavens, and they were trying to duplicate the heavens on earth. This is a kind of a picture of what the temples looked like before the Arabs took the white casing off of the pyramids to build their masjids in Egypt. The Arabs, who were invaders to North Africa, ancient Kemet, didn't come with no science or mathematics, didn't know how to carve into stones and everything. So what they did was steal the stones off of the Mirkut of Khufu to build their masjids in Cairo.
The white granite.
So the white, actually it's limestone.
Right, yeah.
White limestone that was on top of the granite. Right. So they built, but in ancient Kemet, when this limestone was there, and then it was capped with crystals and gemstones. They called the bin, okay? Now, watch this here. So that means when light hit this, you can see it for 100 miles away. 100 miles away, it would lead you to where this was. And every Mirkut had a whole complex of temples built around it. But we don't know that. Somebody told you it was just a tomb. I could give you 20 things that it's not. It purifies water. Ceremony, whole things, that it's based upon science, not just a tomb.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Somebody told me to ask you this question. I'm
Go
going to
ahead,
ask
Tim.
you the question, but I already know the
Temple
answer
and man.
to it.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
Let me say this and then answer the question. This is a picture showing the stars being aligned with the pyramids. So somebody is not Infodisi just making some stuff up. So above, so below. Over here, this is what they call the Karnak Temple, okay? Uput Sut, right? But look, it's built, it took 500 years to build this. So the priests kept articulate records so that the next generation knew exactly what the other generation. It's a man taking a step with his left foot at a 33-degree angle. That's the Holy of Holies, inside where the brain is. The rib cage is where the great columns are. This is the reproductive areas. So when they challenged us about this, and they started reading the glyphs here, they found out that the creation story took place in this part of the temple, where the reproduction areas were. Right. Okay? So, and then the entrance here. So it just showed you that our temples were based upon the human body. So that means you had to know biology, you had to know anatomy and all of that type of stuff, just to know architecture. Go ahead, you had a question.
Okay, here's a question I'm gonna have for you.
Ask the question first.
Let me see. What's his name?
If he's not one of the big, I don't know, Big Ten Hebrews, just let us know.
All right,
Question.
Jeff Jamal.
Okay.
All right, brother Jeff Jamal. He asked a question.
Hebrew, Jeff
Even though I know the answer to it, you know the answer to it. He says, we know death is no death. You already spoke about that this right here is just the shell that is carrying the consciousness and, you know, the information through. What comes after, quote unquote, death?
Well, we have a scene here called the double halls of Ma'at, and it's a symbolic. We got a whole. There's several rulers who got temples who talk about the gates, the 12 gates of the night, and how to live for immortality and the different realms of consciousness outside of so-called death to resurrect and be rebirth. It's almost like some ancient Kemet who traveled through this and then came back and left a diagram of what you got to go through. That's how deep we are, okay? Because remember, we are spiritual beings in a human body. Okay, so that question is pretty easy. If you follow the laws of Ma'at and you have completed your mission here, see, every human being is sent here on a mission. So first of all, do you know what your mission is? And have you completed your mission? And then are you giving it to the world? Like right now, I know what my mission is, and right now I'm giving it to the world. And so I'm being true to Ma'at, and now I got to just live by those principles of Ma'at.
What is your mission, Elder? What is your mission?
My mission is to turn you right side up, to give you the legacy that our ancestors have left behind so that you will understand Ma'at. My mission is to help you understand your mission by connecting to your ancestral spirits, by knowing your story. Dr. Clark says if you don't know where you've been, you see, watch this here. This is part of my mission. Dr. Clark broke it down real good. Dr. Clark said, they laughed at your name and you changed them. I'm here to give you back your true African names. They laughed at your clothes and you changed it. Now all my people are wearing Western clothes. I'm here to show people how they're supposed to be dressing, put their real clothes back on. They laughed, not only at your language, they laughed at your science, even though they stole it, and now you don't want nothing to do with it. I'm here for you to come back and to grasp your real science. They laughed at our family structure, the male, the female, the child, the Trinity. I'm here to help us put it back together. Okay, I have some powerful children that I have raised. My son, Hassan Salim, and my daughter, Zuwaina Iman Salim, are leaders and are dynamic people. So yes, we have scholars and their children is out to lunch. But I'm here to say that no, my children are dynamic people who are leaving a legacy for our people and who are leading by example.
Beautiful. All right.
Next. And I think the real question is, what are their concepts of the afterlife? Our concepts can be symbolic in a double hall of Ma'at, but it's really quantum physics.
Right.
Our soul is eternal. Our soul is eternal. It never dies. We have different sciences to that soul, right? We have parts that actually don't exist further, but then we have parts that exist pass into the stars. It's like stardust. So, and we have particles that go back to life that other animals digest, right? So we are eternal beings. So don't ask us if you want to know what our concepts of the afterlife is. We'll be ready to teach, but don't be dismissive.
Right. Here's a perfect diagram. This is what I was talking about. Yeah. This is the double halls of Ma'at. So this person, Ani, is deceased. He's no longer in his physical body. This is a depiction of his soul. Remember, we said learn symptomatic before you learn symbolic. So this is symbolic of the symptomatic, but you'll be lost if you don't know the symptomatic, the real sign. So Ani now is before the judgment hall. This is Inpu. See, he ain't no dog, just a black dog that we worshiping. He represents the guardian of the gates, the leader to the gates.
Why the symbol of the dog head?
Because he is a great hunter. Because he understands the world of transformation. So he knows the transformation from life to death. Oh, he understands the word life from death.
And
so
he can smell when you're lying.
Right. Okay. So therefore, they saw his power in nature and symbolically used it in their symbolism. Okay. All right. So here he is. He's weighing your heart, and that's symbolically your heart, because your heart is the keeper of your goods and deeds. Okay. And to a feather, which represents truth, justice, righteousness. Remember, that's Ma'at. So your heart is supposed to be light. Now, it doesn't, you don't snatch somebody's physical heart out. This is in the halls, this is in the duet. This is all symbolic, right? And now if it balances out, then Jehuti is there to record everything. If you have done Isfet, if you cussing and fighting and arguing and doing everything you're not supposed to be do, then Amamet's going to take care of you and you coming back to do this again. Okay? It's simple as that. If there was a continuation of this, Haru would be waiting here to take your soul to see his Father who art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom done. That will be done as it is on heaven. They got that straight from ancient Kemet. Akhenaten is the author of that. Okay? So, you know, so the so-called Hebrews and Christians are getting their most sacred psalms and prayers from ancient Kemet. Solomon is the soul of Ra. And he's just Imhotep. I'm in Hotep. What they call it, Hotep Amen.
So Solomon is Imhotep.
Is I'm in Hotep. So their greatest king is a Kemite priest king.
Did you know that, Brother Reggie?
All right, move on.
Powerful information here, fam.
Okay, here we go. Today, some of our modern Africans in the diaspora are doing artwork to resurrect. Like I showed you the ancient pictures of our Neteru. These are some modern brothers like me and you right now in the 21st century depicting what they, to them today in the modern era, what the Neteru look like. So here you see Shashat with the 7 points on her head. You see Sabet, Sopetit here with the 5 points here. You see Aset. You see Geb. He's the one that they claim his penis is all up in the air. He's just showing you resurrection, rebirth, renewal, continuation, but respect to the woman. Here's Haru. Here's Basset, the great cat. You know, was depicted as the feminine energy. Here is Asar and Aset. Here is Serket. You see, for example, when the Greeks saw this, they saw the scorpion, but they didn't know who the sister was, and they didn't ask nobody. So they said, oh, your sign is Scorpio. They didn't know that you should be worshiping Serket.
Now I got one for you. Who is Quebesanuf? Who is Quebesanuf? Quebesanuf.
Oh, you're not saying it right. Okay.
Quebesanuf. How you
Okay.
pronounce it?
Yeah. Let me just correct that. That's Gebsanuf and them. Those are one of the 4 sons of Mesu Haru. Haru has 4 children. And those 4 children are also related to the lungs, the kidney, the lungs, the intestines, the kidney, and the stomach. Okay? And those were mummified and wrapped, actually sahud, and wrapped and kept because they depicted on how you live your life. You see, you can tell me, oh, Infodc, I was a vegetarian, I was eating right, and then I looked and your colon is all shriveled up and backed up. So I don't have to know. I know you were lying. And so Asar would look at your organs, brother. You said, no, man, I've been eating right, you know, and your stomach, you got ulcers all in your stomach and all of this here, you know, because that ain't going to hide. That's not going to lie, you know. And so they would investigate your intestines and take those out because you don't need this on the next journey. That's just to see if you were living a good life.
In the later papyrus, then he is created when so-called in the contingents of Horus and Seth, right? He is with the semen.
Okay.
With the semen in the later papyruses, but we have variations depending on who is ruling Kemet at the time and what value system that they have.
We have to understand, two people, when we are giving you this knowledge, I'm talking about a 4,000-year rule of ancient Kemet. So there are slight variations based upon what golden age we happen to be dealing with. The first golden age, the second golden age, the third golden age, the fourth golden age. And a lot of information that people are getting is during the 31st dynasty when the Greeks and Romans were there. Okay, so, you know, things have been twisted around. So we're trying to, even when I teach the Medu Neter, I'm teaching it from the classical 12th dynasty, was the classical period of ancient Kemet.
I have this brother called in 3 times. He ready?
Okay.
Who is he?
Quebesanuf.
Get him.
All right, he wanna ask a question.
Let him hit.
He gotta get ready to go to work. So.
Okay, go ahead. Let him hit his question.
Brother Quebesanuf. Quebesanuf.
What's his question?
Hold on.
He's a Hebrew.
Yeah. Hold up. All right, come on, brother Quebesanuf. Come with it.
E.M. Hotep, my brother. Peace and harmony and respect to you.
Peace, brother. I just wanted to clear up some misunderstanding.
Okay.
There are some people who are watching the videos who are making comments are using the fact that I'm a police officer against me. So I wanted to make a question to you. Your top student, Haroon Naket, who teaches martial arts, the tough system.
Yes, yes, sir.
I am a member of tough, and I'm one of the advanced students in his system.
Yes, sir.
Every year, me and you have a good friendship. I even give you my PBA card because I'm a service, and I serve the community and I help.
Correct.
So, what do you say when the listening audience or the viewing audience are using my police status against me as to say I'm some kind of COINTELPRO agent? Because I've always been transparent,
Right.
and I'm always in the community.
Yes, sir.
I'm always serving, so I would want you to reply to that.
Okay, I'll be glad to comment on that. Let me make a statement, even before I comment on you personally. If people know Brother Haru Ankara Samaj, who was one of my spiritual brothers, my spiritual big brother, actually set up the first Kemetic temple here in the United States, especially in the Northeast, in New York here, was a police officer. So he had a job that he did during the day, but that didn't interfere with his spiritual life. He became a dynamic spiritual teacher of ancient Kemet and developed lots of students who do dynamic work and still do dynamic work. So I want to say that. So, brother, I know you. I know you're a student of mine. I know that you're a student of my student. I know your work. You've been in my class. You've been in my Madunecha class. We have seen you are doing work in the community. People, if somebody's a garbage man, that's an honorable job. I don't say he can't be a scholar because he works as a garbage man. If somebody is a teacher for the Europeans in their school that's bamboozling our children, I don't badmouth him because he's a bamboozled teacher. I say, no, he's teaching during this time, but after he's doing dynamic work in the community. So my brother, those people who are usually making those comments are people who are superficial, don't know the work, and have not dug deep to see what is the fruit of your labor.
Can I speak? Brother
Brother
Kabesanov, this is Brother Kabesanov. Are you still there? This is Brother Reggie. Peace to you, brother. Shalom Hotel, right? You know, personally, I
can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so when you let me know your status, right? That didn't change how I felt personally about you, right? I just felt that there's people who work in the system who are helpers. At the same time you told me your status, you never told me that you were a Hebrew. I never knew that you were Hebrew. So when we had that debate, right, that's when I found out that you was a spokesperson for them. I wish I would have known earlier. The issue is that the Hebrew war machine did war on Kemet. Those things and those criticisms, right, largely were unfounded. The problem is it just so happens that you happen to be a law enforcement officer, but then you became not. How can I say you were not? You were not transparent. So we're going to have to work this out. People are very concerned about Ferguson, very concerned about Staten Island, very concerned about issues that don't necessarily deal with you. But the fact of the matter is that people should have thought more about having you open that conversation. And that's one of the things that we have to work on. Is that fair? With all the criticism that we have as the police, and they're all good police, we did not know that you was representing the Hebrew war machine at a time where they was criticizing Kemet in the way that they did. Do you understand that?
Let me respond. Let me respond to that. When I was a member of the debate, I thought I was representing the House of Consciousness. I thought that was a House of Consciousness.
So I've known you for damn near over 10 years now. Am I right, brother?
100%.
And you have never disrespected or violated me. So I never see, and I know I have always known you was a cop, right or wrong.
100%.
So whenever I see you, brother, I never see you as a cop first. I see you as my brother first. So forget all that crap with them Negroes saying on YouTube because they don't know you, Quebecin enough. They don't know you personally. And most of them got hidden names and agent names. You see, I know you personally. You see what I'm saying? That's why I can invite you into my house. That's why you can come in here. You see what I'm saying? I don't fear you, brother. You respect me. You respect my family. I respect you.
But Sarnetta, the problem is, and this is the real problem, no matter what good you tried to do, Quebecin, right? What followed was not good. That was the problem. Your statement was counter to what they did to us that day. So we can't have our cake and eat it too. Even if you did do good, what followed was an attack on African people.
But I can claim the same thing on your side because being with somebody who promotes atheism and
not at that debate. And not at that debate. You got to separate what you think you know about people, right, to what they did. We are responsible. People from the Nile Valley culture were responsible. We had to do ma'at. We did not attack you. Forget what you think we say. When we say God killer, people are so caught up in religion that they are blind. That is the reason why he calls himself God killer. Not because he's trying to kill gods. Let's be honest and fair. On our debate, we did not attack Israel. We did not attack the Bible. We just defended ourselves, and we got a right to defend ourselves. But you can't tell me that you tried to do something good and then accept the rest of the stuff that they did to us.
Let me say this. When Brother Polite and I had a conversation, Polite was very clear. You need to take God, you need to take the Bible, and throw it in the garbage. That goes against my heart, and that goes against our heritage.
He didn't say it at the debate. He did not say it at the debate. He may have said it. See, we have a time and space difference in your thinking. What you're trying to do is do what the Europeans do. Condemn us for crimes, right, that are out of context. Let's keep it in the context of the debate. That is the time and the space. If I did something to you yesterday, if you didn't address it yesterday, don't bring it tomorrow. Address it when it happens.
All right, I think we need to move on. My brother,
All right, let's go.
thank you very much.
Shem Hotep.
Shem E.M. Hotep.
And shalom.
Okay, all right. If they look back up, people, again, we have we can agree to a disagree, okay? But we need people to come with facts, not with some feel-good stuff. We need people come with some things that they are not responsible for writing and their ancestors didn't do it. And you can't even read the original language that was done in. We need to be scientific, we need to be spiritual, and we need to be factual about it. So here, I said before, this is where the word religion comes from. Religion is the Latin verb, comes from regula, means to tie back, to hold back, to throw, to stop forward progress, to bind, to tie up. That's what religion means. Spirituality has nothing to do with that. And long before the Hebrew God Jehovah, who created Adam out of clay, came the Kemetic Necharu Kanum, who created man out of clay on this potter's wheel. So even the jargon that they do use comes from ancient Kemet. And here we have so-called baptism. Before the first dynasty of ancient Kemet, this was old. This was brought in by the Cushites, the so-called baptism. All knowledge, wisdom, and writing was attributed to the ancient black Kemetic Necharu. And not just God, or not just the Netcher in the male, but Netcher in the female aspect also. Next. We're not going to spend some time on this because we did, but a lot of the Hebrews made reference to the phallic symbols. All of this are spiritual symbols. This is men. He represents coming into being, resurrection. It says, I come into being, I bring forth that which comes from above. See, So there's no sexual connotation here. And his phallic is not even where your penis is. It's coming out of his navel. Okay? Here he is here. And they're giving homage to that. And look, male and female giving homage to men, which just represent your reproductive energy. Here's the resurrection, rebirth, showing the virgin birth. The Tekken represents the male phallus. It's a symbol of resurrection, rebirth, renewal. They're imitating in Washington, D.C. This is another depiction where it shows the phallic symbol at erection and look, life for eternity. So all these resurrection symbols, and here's Geb having its sexual intercourse with Nut, bringing forth the human race. All right, next. So I just want to leave, just make that
Just
real
the
clear.
context of how the lens in which you use. If you see that as perverted, then you are a low-level species of humanity. If you see that as perverted, right? You're a low-level species of humanity. You don't do science. You don't do mathematics, right? You're just waiting for your God to come, and you don't see the God within yourself.
Hey,
And you...
You know he been hurt by the Hebrews.
Okay, all right, but look at here.
Reggie been hurt by the Hebrews.
No, look. This is Geb again. So this so-called pornographic, what they call pornography, look, that's the Great Pyramid. This shows you the science here, that even the sign of his erection, it shows that the top tower inside of the pyramid, where all of these assembling to the circumference of the polar stars. He's directing those energies. He's talking about Orion, Sirius A. All of this is symbolic of Nut and Shu. It is mathematics. It is science. It really doesn't even have to do with male and female. It just shows our relationship from a scientific and spiritual reproductive act, that we become immortal and we bring forth life. Homosexuality does not bring forth life. Next. African consciousness. Assume nothing. Question everything. Open your eyes. Challenge the opposition. That's what you heard Reggie here doing. Challenging the opposition. And start to think. And your think has to be based upon science. And I say to all my brothers here, if you'll put religion to the side, and we can just come together as human beings, then we'll be able to make greater strides as a people of color in America and in the world, as African people, as black people, as just leave those labels behind, and we can come together. Surround yourself with those on the same mission that you're on. And we're moving towards the end now. We must educate our own children. Here I am here teaching the babies. See, it's not like when you ask me, what is my mission? Look, so not only am I here teaching the adults, here I am at the Brooklyn Museum, taking people. I'm going to have other people, I'm taking them to the Metropolitan Museum. I'm taking them to the Boston Museum. I'm taking them to Washington, D.C. I'm taking them to Kemet, right? And I'm teaching them. This is one of my teachers. If you go to the next, it says, spirituality is not a religion. Being spiritual just means you are in touch with your own divine self. You're in touch with your own divine self. I'm not waiting for nobody to liberate me. Next. Oh, that one more back, just one. People, this is my church. Nature is my church. Again, this is just some things that we show. This is the other part of that resurrection scene. So after you've had your heart weighed and you're a truer voice, now you come here. Now there's another scene that will show that Ani's hair will turn white. That's why in the 10 Commandments, they got Moses' hair turns white after he sees God, so-called. They got that from this. Okay, and then here he is. This is Asar. Those are the 4 sons of Haru standing in front. So that brother who just called in, he's named after one of these guys here. Okay, all right. And this just shows our science in terms of preparing the body. They wouldn't know nothing about that because they used to throw their dead in a cave or in the ground. Go ahead. Again, I've showed some of this. This is just showing that the sahu being prepared. This is how they used to bury it. Earth, Mother Nature used to preserve the body, the hot, dry sand. And so the Kemetic priests duplicated that with bandages and oils and frankincense and myrrh and natron, drying all the moisture out of the body to preserve it, to a point where I think I have another slide here. You can see some of our people, their skin is preserved after 5,000 years.
See, here it is. When you say that they threw their they threw their bodies, right? They're
Right.
dead in a cave.
Uh-huh.
Are we being disrespectful, or is that just fact?
That's
See,
fact.
They say that by us saying that, right? That's disrespectful.
Yes.
That is fact. We had a different way of burying our dead.
Right.
Scientific evidence says that. When they were deceased, they put them in caves, in shallow graves, and that was the end of it.
Or they burnt them up.
Or
The,
they burnt them
the
up.
Asiatics cremated. A lot of them cremated.
Right. We do this.
We do this. We preserve. And today, we are still trying to imitate this.
You can put the camera on him.
Okay, so you understand that? Today, we are still trying to imitate what the ancient chemists do. We're not trying to do what the ancient Hebrews did. We're not trying to do what the ancient Christians did. We're trying to do what the ancient Kemet did. So that means that a mortician today is a poor replica of an Inpu priest of ancient Kemet. Next.
Yo, I'm here having fun with the chat too. They bugged out.
Again, listen up. We are warriors. We don't do martial arts. We do the Minchu warrior arts.
That's right.
Okay? All right, so I need to break it down. Here I am. I'm a grandmaster in the martial arts, 6 times national champion. So I'm not just talking warriorship. Okay? Over 34 times grand champion. I'm not talking warriorship. Okay, here. Here's our rulers depicting. Those are some Hyksos in there. The Hebrew is like, so we are the Asians, the Europeans. This is what we did to them. Okay, when they came in and disrespected our land.
Disrespectful, or is that true?
That's true. That's fact. So if you didn't disrespect our land, then we allowed you to stay.
Hold up, you said those are some Hyksos.
Hyksos, right there.
Those are some Hebrews.
Those are some Hebrews right there.
What they call it? Coming into our land.
Now, what they call
Coming into our land.
like an axe? What they call that part?
Smiting.
Smite, right.
Smiting.
Oh man.
Right. We didn't go to their land. This is them coming in our land. This is what they got. Okay? Okay, all right.
Hear that, Hebrew?
All right, now, when we talking about we were the warriors of ancient Kemet,
The Magi.
look at here. This is the Magi warriors of ancient Kemet.
The Magi. I got the Magi on the phone right now.
Okay.
Waiting for you.
All right. Now, now, wait a minute. This comes from the second golden age. This is approximately 2000 BCE. This was found in the grave of a king.
What does the Magi mean?
Magi they are African warriors who come from the Sudan, Ethiopia area, who actually come from a city, a town called Maja. So that's where the name Magi come. But they were warriors who were masters of the bow, masters of camouflage, like everything that you would associate the ninja. The ninja is trying to imitate a Magi warrior. Except for we didn't have to put on a black uniform because we were black.
Check this out. A Hebrew brother
Right.
said to me that I got the Magi on the phone. He said, yo, son, you know, he can't really be the Magi because the Magi mean you got to have stripes or something on your face where they cut your face.
No, those are just certain priests in the ship, okay? Just like in the military, you get certain stripes based upon, your work,
Right.
okay? So that means that person went through a special initiation and became a priest-scientist within the Magi nation. So all warriors weren't priest-scientists, just like you in the military. All warriors aren't generals. All warriors aren't lieutenants.
They pumping gas now. You
Right,
know what I'm
okay?
saying? Just
So look, this is what they look like. This was so-called a Kemet army, and this was the Magi army. And let me say this here. If they look Magi up, it'll say that they were the guardians of the rulers, the kings, the royal house, the sacred temples. They were the most trusted. They were judges. They were the so-called police. They were the order keepers in ancient Kemet.
Woo! The Magi in the building.
And they come to protect and serve the North Sud.
Right.
They
That
say-
was their job.
To serve the North Sud. We come to make Kemet right when Kemet is
Listen,
wrong.
I got the Magi on. Go ahead, Magi.
Go ahead, Magi.
That's Jonathan Owens.
Yeah, from the Army Rock Squad.
Hotel.
Peace, hotel, brother. That's an excellent teacher you're giving them right now.
Thank you, my brother. Dua, brother.
He does. He's one of our best young Meta Nature scholars.
I want to say Dua. I heard you represented yourself the other day.
Hopefully, I hear that.
Oh, man. Damn. You just hung up Let me call him back.
Turn to the next.
Okay, this is the next slide.
Leave a message, please.
All right, yeah,
Okay.
call me back.
Okay. So here again, not no feel good stuff.
No, sir.
Facts. Turn the camera. This is at Mahez, what they call Beni Hassan, the first mortuary cemetery dedicated to magi or to generals or warriors of ancient Kemet, to give homage to these people who lost their life. The first people buried here were magi warriors from Kush who lost their life defending Kemet. That's how it was started. Okay, these are showing murals on the wall of combat positions where you get jujitsu, judo, karate, all of that is on the wall
Shaw
here.
showed something the other day in the house of Sarnetta saying that these were homosexual moves. That's what Hashar was saying.
These are throws, holds. These are combat moves.
Yeah, brother Magi, you on?
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, he's filling you in. I mean, what else can I say? The Magi, the people of Magi who came up, like I say, the vanguards of Kemet.
Yes, sir.
And, I don't know what your brother put forth about the scar, but he just cleared it up for us that was the priest. And furthermore, I mean, I think they was just taking it a tad bit too literal if they wanted to take it so literally. Brother Ankh showed him his DNA was Bija. And me, so forth, I'm bringing forth, you know what I'm saying, the spirit of the Magi and representing all this erroneous scholarship they putting out on Kemet. We here to defend against that. And so all of us, as far as I'm concerned, are Magi because we right here on the front defending against these erroneous pseudo-claims they putting out on the ancestors.
Right. So, brother, can you see the wall here? Do you see the pictures here? I'm showing you this is what the Magi look like.
Say it again.
Okay, if you look at it, if you can see the mural on the wall here, this is what the Magi warriors look like. This is show.
I can't see right now, but I'm pretty familiar with the iconography.
Okay, all right. So,
Not in the house watching the computer.
No, I had to step out.
okay, all right. So anyhow, I'm just showing the brother that this ain't no feel-good theology, that I'm not talking about off the cuff of my head. I'm showing them real facts inside of my head, inside of the tombs of ancient Kemet that exist right now that they can go examine. I put them here so that they can see it.
Exactly.
Okay, all right now. Peace and harmony. And here over again,
Brother Magi, I'll talk to you later.
Peace out to all.
and again, here we are taking care of some Hebrews and some Asiatics again. Okay. Hold it. So this ain't no feel-good stuff. This is what we did to people who were out of order.
They violated the laws of Ma'at.
The laws of Ma'at. This is what we had waiting on you.
So those are the Hebrews right there.
Right here.
So what they came in to do though? They came in.
It's fed. Wrongdoings. You came in begging, stealing, and then you trying to take over. Okay, all right, so this is what happened.
Who's that getting ready to smite him? That's Ramesses?
Right, that's the ruler, the king, right there. That's Ursa Ma'at Ra, and then here shows that he's doing it in the name of Amen.
No wonder the Hebrews are mad at us.
Okay, go on.
They got sunned in ancient times.
Go ahead, here's the next one.
They got sunned in ancient times.
Okay, now we're moving towards the end here. Look at here. If you will not claim your greatness, somebody else will. So y'all understand that? Let me say it again. If you will not claim your greatness, somebody else will. Here we are. This is Ursa Ma'at Ra sitting there. This is Abraham Lincoln. The guy who was the carver and the engineer for this went to Kemet and saw this and came back and made this. And he tells you in his book, he wrote a book, and he tells you he was inspired by Ursa Ma'at Ra Setepen Ra. The so-called, you see the 4 statues of Ursa Ma'at Ra here, and this is Mount Rushmore trying to duplicate the exact same thing they saw in Kemet. Here's the Washington Monument trying to duplicate the same thing they did in Kemet. Here is Tutankhamun, and now they just put up Martin Luther King trying to look like Tutankhamun with the Tekken in the background looking like ancient Kemet. Here's Haru Imaketi. Now this is a Sphinx. This is a white boy trying to look like the African. So that's a Sphinx over here. This is Haru Imaketi. But look at the images. Don't ever be ashamed of who you are unless you're a house nigger. Okay? Here's our greatness, and this is what we're looking up to today. The sisters all with weaves and everything showing their butt. And somebody like 50 Cent out here representing Isfred, who is responsible for the murder of millions of Africans. Go
Brother
on.
Unc said Black African Power. He said you're doing a good job. I got Unc on the phone.
Tell him Hotep, man.
He heard you. He said
That's the one
Hotep to
they
you,
call.
Brother Unc.
That's the one they call God Killer, but he's Check.
Oh, okay.
This is the God Killer. This is his
Okay.
nickname also.
Tell him to keep the work up, brother. Keep up the good work. I heard you represented, brother. Okay.
All right, thank you, brother. Army Rod squad up in the building.
Okay. Here's George Washington, one of your former presidents here. And here he is with the Tekken. And he's inside of the black penis, inside of the Tekken. And he got the baguette that we showed you before over his head.
Know thyself.
Know thyself. So he's saying, if you won't use it, I will.
I'll use it. Y'all
Okay? And so they have no problems running with our stuff. Now, this picture here, I want to spend just a second.
Is that Queen Top?
No, Some brother put this up on the internet, right? But he didn't have no name next to it, no nothing where he got it from or nothing. So,
Hell of a body, though.
but, her coordinates are righteous. Her coordinates are righteous. But listen here. It says here, this is why we need to learn how to do Netcher. It says here, it says Nebet Netcher, meaning she is the divine mistress of the Creator. And her name is Mut Heka Neferu. She is the mother of the ruler of great beauty.
Look at that.
You see? So that's why we need to know. It's good. The brother understood that it was powerful. He understood that it was beautiful, but he didn't just know how beautiful. When you can read the glyphs, you can read them and do Netcher, now it defines it.
So when Polite says that his woman is his Netcher, that's what we talking about.
That's what we're talking about.
Right?
But one thing you didn't teach on yet, and I'm going to ask you this question because they bring this up too.
Hit the next one.
When they go into her ship set, they said she was a dyke.
Of course.
Because
we
they see.
talked about that earlier.
Right.
I talked about that earlier. No.
okay, good.
Yeah. Hatshepsut, first of all, was married to a great king, Amenhotep. Then her father was a king. Her brother was a king. Her brother died early. She was married to her brother. But her brother's son was next heir to the throne. So she married her stepson. Her stepson was 8 years old. So she was a co-regent with her stepson. So she had to call all the shots. So instead of saying this is on behalf of my stepson who's 8 out playing, she just said, no, I got this. I'm going to rule this.
Now, when you say her brother, right? The problem with the Hebrews, they like to go quickly to incest. So I need you to clear that
Right.
up, right?
So watch this.
Yeah.
She was married to her brother, but she had another mate that she had sex with, and her brother had a second wife that he had children with. Okay? So he didn't have children with his sister, who was his wife, who was the keeper of the throne.
For inheritance and for bloodline.
Right. So it's inheritance, bloodline here. So anyhow,
So when you say sister, that's just like today we say
My sister.
my sister. Right.
something like that.
Okay.
You know?
So I want people to understand Africa is crying right now. Show it here. Africa is crying now because we're lost upside down, inside out, and backwards. You see, all of North Africa is ruled by Islam. All Southern and Central Africa is ruled by Christianity. And our traditional African religion is looked upon as some hocus pocus hodgepodge where both of these are getting their information from. And so that means we don't like ourselves. We're looking at ourselves through our enemy's eye, even on the African continent. That's our problem here. If we look here, we left all this evidence I showed you. And you Negroes still can't figure it out.
Separate Negroes to Hebrews. And you Hebrews still can't figure out who you are.
I'm showing you our respect for our sisters. Our sisters is the organic love that we should be. We should not be having the GMO love, okay? Okay.
You study everything.
All right, so this is the love we should be looking for. Organic, okay? Not genetically modified, melanin deficient, okay? Shouldn't be there, okay? And if you can see, these are some brothers that made that mistake. And almost all of them are divorced now, and their bank account is non-existent almost because their albino mates took all their cash. All right, next one.
And the other thing is, it's hard. It's this, Brother Infidisi, this is a real hard thing. We don't really like to go hard against the Hebrews and other people, right? But they don't venerate their women.
Right. We venerate our women.
Their women are dust. When they die, they live just to give them children. At the end, they don't write about them, speak about them, worship them, they don't do anything. So if you're a Hebrew woman under a man, you're going to have no eternity. We venerate our sisters.
Hit the next one. Dua on that. You have to be a maid, a hoe, a clown, or a slave to get the highest acting award from these Europeans here in America if you are a black woman. And I want people to think, this is not just Mfundisi just making some stuff up. Look at their pictures. Here they are. Whippy was a phony psychic. She got the best acting award. Here we are, an abusive mother, a maid, an abusive mother, a maid, a slave. And now you can get the Oscar, which is an imitation of Asar and Ptah. In fact, I got them on both sides, Asar and Ptah, and they want to know who is this guy Oscar anyway, you know? But anyhow, this is what our sisters should be striving to be like.
Woo! Woo! Look, woo.
Not a hoe, not a maid, not a slave. Next.
Or walking behind their man or any of that other
None of that other stuff.
right?
Right. This is just a timeline. Again, I'm showing you other great African empires other than Kemet. I want to give homage to all of them. We have the Empire of Mali, the Empire of Benin, the Empire of Ghana, the Kingdom of Aksum, the Nubian, the Congo, Songhai, the Kingdom of Monomotapa, the Kingdom of Dahomey, the Ashanti Kingdom. And we even showed the timeline. See, you got to put things in their proper spatial perspective. So, and here we spanking the Hebrews again, up here in the corner. Okay, all right. All right, but here, Africa in its proper spatial perspective. The only way out is to go into your inner mind, your consciousness. Go ahead. This is just going to show how the Arabs introduced the first form of enslavement, and then the Europeans and them took the second part. Go ahead, next. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Most of us kind of know this. They broke Africa up. This shows the early colonization of Africa. And then over here, this shows the later this is Africans even colonizing themselves in modern Africa. Africa cannot be liberated long as they look like this. America has also divided America up like this. This is the FEMA, has broken America up to these parts. In each one of these areas, there's concentration camps that can hold millions of people. And so just like they divided Africa up, they've divided America up. And I want to ask, do you have a plan? The Kemetic spiritual system is developing a plan to save us when this happens. Go.
Let me ask you, brother. Are you a Mason?
I teach Masons. The Masons come to me. If you look on my card, there's a picture of me in Washington, D.C. on 116th Street in the Masonic Lodge of York Rites, where you get your 33 degree. And I'm sitting in the Grand Booba's chair. And he told my whole congregation of 50 people, a whole busload, that he's one slice of the 360 degrees that our ancestors left. I'm representing the 360. You're Masons. At best, you're 33. Really, it's only 3 degrees. Those are just honorary degrees, and it's based upon who you know in community work, okay? And they don't know the Medunetcha. They're taking somebody else's word for it.
360 degrees, Amun Ra, double plume.
Go ahead.
All right, so was I clear on that, brother?
Yes, sir.
I teach Masons.
See, they tried to get you. They said, Axum is here, Mason.
Right. I teach Masons, okay? All right. So now, here, don't believe the hype. We're around 13% of the population. We're really higher than that because there's a whole group of people called Hispanics, who are just African people who speak Spanish. There's a whole group of African people who call themselves biracial, who are just African people, okay? So that takes away. So anyhow, they say we're approximately 13%. But look, if you look at things like burglary, 67% of all burglary is done by Europeans. If you look at sex offenses, 72% of all sex offenses done by Europeans. If you look at drug abuses, 67% of all drug abuses done by Europeans. Weapon arms, 58%. Driving while influence, 84%. But yet, we represent the majority of the people in the prisons. So it's just us, it's not justice. Move on. We just need to know that system was not set up for us. Here, people want to know, okay, this is going back to that last question. The African family. We have to promote our own images. Look at the sisters. We have from locks just to natural hair, to head wraps, to braids. This is how we depict ourselves. Next. Family, culture, and spirituality. You notice I didn't say religion. Family, culture, and spirituality. Okay? So is above, so below. This shows a Kemetic family. Right now is the Queen of St. Croix is part of the Kemetic family. This shows us taking the brothers to. This is at the Brooklyn Museum. This is at the Metropolitan. Here I am with my wife. Here, again, we got to show strong family. We got to rise spiritual energy. Next. These are my teachers. So the audience who were there, I want people who come forth and do these debates and stuff like that, I want them to give homage to their teachers. These are the people whose shoulders I'm standing on. I want to start here. In 1964, I was one of the first youth coordinators of the Organization of Afro-American Unity under El Haj Malik El Shabazz. This is 1964 and 1965. When he was assassinated, Ruby D and Ossie Davis took me in and introduced me to Balozi Harvey, who was the head of the African World Trade Center, and said, this brother will teach you to the right path. Balozi Harvey introduced me to Mfundisi Maasi, who became my martial arts instructor, teaching me Bando, the fighting art, coming from Bando. Mfundisi introduced me to Mfundisi Talona. Talona is the founder of the Shackle Hand and all of those systems of the Menchu fighting arts. We were protectors. We represent Simba Wachunga. So I was there in Newark in 1966 when we elected the first mayor, Mayor Kenneth Gibson. We were his protector force called Simba Wachungas. From there, we were protectors of Amamo Miri Baraka. I was there when he was named Amamo Miri Baraka from Leroy Jones. And at the same time, right after that, my other Jegna was Don L. Lee. And at the same time, after that, he changed his name to Mahi Makubuti. Makubuti. So anyhow, this is there. So that's that lineage there. From there, I met Dr. Ben after I graduated from college. Then Dr. Ben introduced me to Dr. John Henry Clark. I sat at their feet. I took their classes. I was in Dr. John Henry's class one time. The first class, there was 70 people in there. Dr. Clark handed out the syllabus and showed you how many books you had to read. And the next day, there was 20 students in the class. Okay? So you had to be a serious student to be a student of Dr. Clark. I took all his classes. Here's Chancellor Williams. Here's J.A. Rogers. I stood at their feet. Here I am. I'm in there with them. Okay, I want you to see that. Then I was introduced to Dr. J when ASCAP was formed. And this is Dr. Rosalind Jeffries and Dr. So they helped me with ASCAP. From there, I got introduced to Dr. Sinjetti, Dr. Jacob Crothers, who was the founder of, one of the co-founders of ASCAP. And then his cousin, Asa Hilliard. That when we talked about the first, second, and third golden age, they're the ones that developed that concept of first, second, third, and golden age. Third, fourth, golden age. From there, from Dr. Sinjetti said, no, you got to get the Medu Necha down. Then Dr. J brought Sister Ricchetti to City College in 1984-85. And so I was one of the students there, their second class.
I was
and
in the first class, but I wasn't a good student. I was in the first class.
In the second class, but I took it all the way to the end. At my first session, we had 64 students. The second session, we had 30 students. The third session, we had 12 students. Then went to advanced class, we had 5. And then I was in her kitchen taking Medu Necha all the way up, all right? So,
and before, just as far as different generations, because me and him are generations apart, right? I am involved in the organization Afro-American Unity. For 24 years, I've been to the grave of El Haj Malik El Shabazz, and I serve as a leader in that pilgrimage. Adi Davis and Ruby D, I went to Adi Davis' funeral, right? On that side, Dr. John Henry Clark was my extended grandfather when I was 20. He was 70. Dr. Yosef Ben Jokanan, I have a relationship with, a long relationship with him as a student of a student. My teacher is under here, Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Dr. Rosalind Jeffries. Dr. Asa Hilliard, I had a relationship with. Dr. Sinjetti, I have a relationship with. He's an ancestor. Both of them are ancestors. Asa Hilliard and Dr. Sanjetti, Jacob Carruthers, and Dr. Ricketti Ahmed. I took a meta-nature class, the first meta-nature class. I was not a great student at that time, but I was exposed to greatness. And she studied with Diop.
Right. All right. So you can see the stuff we're basing upon ain't some feel-good stuff. We studied with the best of the best. Wake up, rise up, wise up. And you again look at our ancestors. Look what they've done. Go ahead. This is today. These are great teachers that are still in ASCAT. Wade Noble, Tony Broder, Thea Bango.
Shaka Amos is there. You got Shaka Amos down there on the bottom.
Oh, okay, on the bottom. Okay, up here you'll see Asa Hilliard. You see he's the president now, Mario Beatty of ASCAT. And we had Kamanti Carr, which is the first vice president now. So all these people are still there when you go to ASCAT meetings. These are giants. Still there. Asa Hilliard is the ancestors, but all the rest of these are still thriving. Down here, this is Samaj. Again, he was a police officer. It has no stain on him being a dynamic Kemetic priest.
But he left the police force.
Right, okay.
That's a critical point. He did leave.
This is our family in St. Croix. This is, again, people that we know. Is Aswaquasi. Okay, all right.
And there's Shaka Amos on the bottom. You gave him an honorable picture.
Okay, here's Shaka Amos over here. These are both students, again, who are trying to represent. Okay. And here, I even have some family over here. His brother, I got the Shrine of the White and Gold Lotus. And then I have African Bambara, all received honorary Ankhs. Okay. Go ahead.
And the Shrine of White Lotus there in Jersey? Where they're at?
No, they used to be right here in Brooklyn. He moved to Atlanta now.
Atlanta, good.
And that's it, y'all. So, is there any questions that people want to ask me before we wrap up here?
This is Dan and close out. Go ahead, Brother Reggie. Sit right next to him. Close out with him.
In my book, I put a plug in from my book.
Talk about Reggie. Close out with him. Yeah.
I'd like to say, if you like anything that I've said, if anything of value, use it in your life.
Right.
It's not just a feel-good theology. This is about rising our consciousness and living for eternity and leaving a legacy for our children. I'm the author of the book, Spiritual Warriors Are Healers, one of the best-selling books in the black community, used in 20 universities, and I teach from it at Essex County College. They use it at Howard University. They use it at several colleges around it, as well as in the community. The study groups from Columbus, Ohio, study groups from Detroit and Boston are all using my book, Spiritual Warriors Are Healers. So again, people, I'd like to say, do our nurture to those people who listen, and hopefully we cleared up a lot of misconceptions, okay? I am not the ultimate truth. I am just one of the many truths standing on the shoulders of some great teachers. But we want you, in my final words, don't just take my word for it or Reggie's word for it. Learn the Medu Necher so that you can read the writing on the wall.
So, since you're here, great elder, representing the elder generation, Dr. Ben has given all that he's can give, and he's certainly given it to people like you. Why is this so frightening to religions? Why is this knowledge? Why do they want us to give up 50,000 years, culminating in ancient Kemet, and substitute it for 3,000 experiences, 2,000 years with a book, when there is no art, no artifacts, no great anything? So why is it so frightening to them? Why is this paradigm so frightening to them?
It's frightening because they want to disconnect you from your ancestors, disconnect you from your history, disconnect you from your greatness, disconnect you from the potentiality, disconnect you from limitlessness. See, if you're in a box, there's limits. Religion is a box. So if I keep people in a box, I can control them. Look at all the civil rights marches and things of that nature. What do the police always say to you? Go home or go to your church. They don't care if you go to the synagogue or home. They know that they got you covered if you go to them places. But if you're spiritual and your church is nature, they don't want you there. So they need to be able to control you. They're controlling Africa through religion. They're controlling our brothers in Brazil through religion. once you get rid of the Europeans' religion and the Arabs' religion, then you can be yourself. And then you can start talking about sovereignty. Then you can talk about being the captain of your own ship. But long as you are trapped in religion, you will not. There was a brother who came to me. He said, "You just like my preacher, man. You talking." I said, "Well, how long you been to that church?" He said, 15 years. I said, "No, I'm not like your teacher." I said, "My students who've been with me for 3 or 4 years are running their own institutions. They are their own high priests. They're running their own institutions. They're writing their own books. And so I'm not like your preacher. I'm liberating people. I'm not keeping people in a box."
Okay, so here's this one is going to be a little bit more complex, teacher, right? Okay, they think this is confusing because it's a lot. It's 4,000 years, right, of art and artifacts and historical sites, archaeology, science, right? And they say some of these people, they want to come on our side. They just think that it's just so complicated because a lot of teachers don't teach the system right, right? Now, one of the ways in which and someone asked you about Sia, Hu, Heka, and Mat, right? Where Sia is divine thought, right? Hu is purposeful divine speech. Heka is divine action, and Mat, right? So I teach I teach out of the Amduit, Sia, Hu, Heka, Mat, because they're all on a boat as protecting Ray. Right, protecting Ray. The problem is let's explain the system. See, Infadici, I could talk all day about it, but I'm junior compared to you, right? So let's just talk about the system because you teach the system. And we take pieces from different levels of, how can I say, different levels of self-mastery, right? Mm-hmm. To teach the people. Let's talk about the system. We're no Masons. Both of us, we're no Masons, right? Teach Masons. People read our work, right? Let's talk about the system for the family, how this can help, and how they can get in touch with you, right?
You need to know how to heal yourself. Simple things like that, you know? So that's basic. That's first. Learning how to eat right, how to feed your family right? Then learning how to heal yourself through herbs and minerals, learning how to use crystals to tap into that energy, you know, learning how to be part of the land, learning how to farm yourself, you know. So those are some elementary things we start out with. Now we say, learn how to read the Medu Neter, because now that will give you the background of going into the science so that you can understand mathematics, you can understand metaphysics, quantum physics. All quantum physics is trying to do now is actually substantiate the Kemetic legacy.
That's correct, it is.
They used to say, some atheists used to say, well, I don't believe there's a God, there's no force. And now quantum physics is showing that there's a force that we can't see that's in everything, that moves and is part of everything.
Spooky action at a distance.
In fact, yeah, right.
You can Google that. Spooky action at a distance, right? Or voodoo science. Albert Einstein is talking about our science.
If you look at Einstein, Einstein said that racism was a disease. Okay, and on Einstein's desk when he retrieved his, got his Nobel Peace Prize, was Assar, Haru, and Aset, and all of them on his desk. Wow. So they looked up to Einstein, and he had this on his desk. He's studying that, and he's a Jew. Okay, and he had all the Kemetic legacies on it. Who was that? Tesla, who was one of the greatest European scientists he had that gave them the electricity and all of that. He said, you can't even study this unless you study ancient Kemet. In fact, the Ankh is one of the keys of electricity of the universe. He tried to give it to them free and they got rid of him. Okay, so we're saying that you need to study ancient Kemet by learning the language. Learning the language will give you the values. Appreciation for women. Appreciation for the family.
And appreciation. To see it in the past.
Right.
To actually see it in the
see
past.
examples of it.
In the past.
Right.
Clearly.
Without a doubt.
And see with your own eyes.
Right. So they need to see that. And then we need to duplicate that today. That means we need to get in control of our own images. We need to get, the music industry is almost a disaster now, okay? We need to take control of that. It used to be a time where we were moving on up. You remember that? Moving on, you know, and hide and faces tell lies. You know, our music used to tell it with it. Now our music is talking about bees and, you know, and hoes and stuff, and we just showing butt and twerking. You know, so we need to elevate ourselves. Homosexuality is on the rise. That's not Kemet. That's not family. We need to move away from that.
And we don't talk about. We only talk about it in the context of the cure. They go into great details about. There was a lecture the other day that the Hebrews give, and they actually talk about how a man is stimulated in this. And that.
No.
We don't even think that. That is not in our.
Right. We're just talking about ma'at. We're just trying to straighten you out. That all you're going to get is some diseases and be terminated your physical body early by going that route. Okay. So and that's fact. I'm not. This ain't no feel good thing. That's fact. If you're a homosexual and you're a gay, there's a whole lot of diseases just waiting on you. That's not waiting on regular people.
Well, it's not created to produce life, and
It's
most
anti-life.
thing is that we are interested in life. So I don't want you as a teacher to go down that path because I brought that spirit up. We are about life, right? So there's another level.
That's why I hold this. So again, Brother Sonetta, what am I about? Here's the Ankh. I carry this. You saw my walking stick. My staff is the Ankh. Can you see my crown? It is the Ankh. Do you see around my neck? It's the victorious Haru. Okay?
See, a lot of them, they have been so whitewashed that they was in here making fun of your crown, of your hat. They said, look at him with that funny hat on. Because they been hitting the head, they don't know no more.
Right.
They didn't make fun, but they didn't make fun of Nazi's crown at the debate.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, see, we
No,
don't
that's
do
real
that.
talk.
We don't do that. We don't make fun of their costumes when they get up there like Tazariak did yesterday, right? We don't make fun of their costume. They feel that they can disrespect us, right?
Right.
And they see weakness because we don't disrespect them, right? But that's not weakness. That's just waiting. It's just waiting. Just don't just start disrespecting people and don't think people hear you. Just because we don't say nothing, right? Don't wait, because we got a long history, right? And you don't have a long history. So it is your anguish and your anxiety that's doing this. But don't think that we don't hear you. And don't think just because we don't disrespect you does not mean that we don't feel what you say. We just have a different way about going about it. Because you lost at the debate, and your God did not help you with that debate.
God was not with him, Reggie?
Was not with them.
Yahweh
Turned
wasn't in the building
his
today?
sight from them. Couldn't get the electronics working. And we don't do witchcraft. I'm just saying you were not successful.
Well, I just heard somebody on my Facebook made a comment. He said that the Hebrews didn't present no facts. He said they didn't have no essence. They didn't have no meat. That it was just a lot of screaming, yelling, and hugging. Screaming, yelling, and
Hugging was
fussing.
there too.
But the facts
And drinking.
and was all on the side, and that's what we want to say. And this is not about defeating somebody. This is about helping the people. So we want the people to make conscious decisions. And I'm not even anti-Hebrew. You have the right to be a Hebrew. We're just saying, do your thing, allow us to do our thing. We don't have to blasphemize you. We're saying that we are descendants of an African people, or we are an African people, and that we are in touch with our African ancestors, that the ancient Nile Valley, Happy Valley, was an African civilization, that the ancient Kemetu were African people, and that all that greatness you see in the Nile Valley, the Happy Valley, was done by African people, black people.
How can they get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me. They can reach me on my Facebook, Mfundisi Jehutimus, or my Gmail is mfundisijehutimus@gmail.com, or my website is Mfundisijehutimus Madunecha. So they have three options.
He will have to write it down for them because they don't do meta-nature, so they don't even know how to do transliteration, so they mess up the whole thing.
Okay, if they go on my Facebook, all they got to do is write Mfundisi, and I'll kind of pop up.
Try to spell it. Mfundisi.
And Jehut, right. So if they put that, there's several Mfundishis, but then they'll say Mfundisi Jehutimus, and they can pop that. And on my Facebook, I do have my website, phone number, and all of that.
Last question from me. How important is this forum with Sonetta Studios, sitting on his couch, talking to 300, 400 young people, even though they don't agree? How important is this type of forum with like Sonetta Studios?
Yes.
And I want to say the other thing to the people.